What if betrayal shattered the Red Dragon Emperor and gave him the powers of Elementor?
Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei was betrayed and got powers of Elementor from Max Steel Forces of Nature movie. Before we start, please go support Luis Darth 4236 for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistaken characters' gender, but of course Issei is a male. After losing the rating game against Issei, he was betrayed by Rias and her entourage who tortured him, but he received many tortures, and when he returned home, he found his parents dead, and then he obtained new powers, while Lincoln was betrayed by his friends and family except two of his sisters, and this one through some crystals, obtains new powers. Accompany the protagonists in this adventure. Chapter 1, the beginning of everything. We are with a brown-eyed man with many marks of torture. This is Issei Hyoudou, who was lying on the ground because he was once again punished by Rias and her entourage. But as it ends like this, here is the answer to this situation. It all started when Issei fought against Razor Phoenix in a rating game to break his lover's engagement, but they ended up losing the rating game. Issei gave his all to defeat Razor, but was humiliated in the most shameful way. Issei returned to fight against Razor in the engagement. He sacrificed his arm to access the balance breaker. When Issei was already in the lead, Razor healed quickly, and unfortunately for Issei, the time on the balance breaker had run out and Issei was defeated, but not before suffering the worst humiliation. But that's just the icing on the cake, as Rias walked up to him and slapped him and shouted angrily. "Rias, what the hell is wrong with you to ruin my wedding?" Annoyed. From that day on, Issei understood that he was only used by Rias and all the girls in the Gremory entourage, but he didn't expect what the others said. Akeno, you're just useless. Annoyed. Kaneko, you're a piece of trash. Annoyed. Kiba, you're not my trash friend. Annoyed. Asia, you're just a useless pervert. Annoyed. From that day on, everything changed in Issei's life, where they wouldn't let him leave the occult club and they just spent their time torturing him. Issei had many scars from Kaneko's blows, Kiba's sword cuts, Akeno's lightning burns, and Ria's destruction attacks. For weeks Issei only received torture from the Gremory entourage, and Asia only healed him, so they would continue torturing him for disobeying his mistress. They also didn't give him food or water, and Sona brought him food so he wouldn't go hungry. One day Issei was helped by Sona to leave the occult club, since Sona's pieces put sleeping pills in the tea of Rias and her entourage without them realizing it. Taking advantage of the fact that they fell asleep, Sona and her entourage helped Issei escape and took him to their house. Issei felt happy to return home, but then he noticed the smell of burning flesh. Issei enters the house and screams in horror when he sees what is in the living room. Sona and her entourage entered upon hearing the scream and covered their mouths upon seeing the reason for Issei's scream. It turns out that in front of Issei were the lifeless bodies of his parents with fourth-degree burns and a frozen expression of horror on their faces. Issei just started to shed tears as he saw his parents dead. Issei, why does this have to happen to me? What did I do to deserve this? Crying. Sona approached Issei and gave him a hug to comfort him. Sona, I'm sorry Issei, we give you our condolences, sad. At that Saji had a serious look. This was noticed by Sona. Sona. Saji, what's up? Curious. Saji. I detect demonic magic, a demon did this, but also the Razor's energy. Serious. Sona. You mean, surprised. Saji. Razor did this, seriously. Issei now had a darkened look, now he knew who was responsible for the death of his parents. Issei. So it was that damn Razor. It wasn't enough for him to humiliate me, but he killed my parents. Annoyed. Issei was out of control, but Sona quickly knocked him unconscious. The gauntlet manifests where the gem shines. Greg. Thanks, if they hadn't knocked him out he would be on the Juggernaut drive, and believe me you wouldn't want to see him in that state, seriously. Sona. I'll think about what to do, seriously. After that Issei was taken to Sona's house where he could rest. From that day on, Issei began training to kill Razor and make him pay for his actions, but Issei's scars that Rias and his entourage made on him did not go away. He did small missions to kill renegade demons, and one day he discovered a strange element called Elementium. Issei took him to Sona and was surprised to see the Elementium, since he thought it was just a legend. Issei met Seekvaira Agares, a pure demon who has a taste for inventing things. Seekvaira found out about Elementium where she wanted to do an experiment where Issei volunteered, since he wanted to have new power, since he was not strong enough to kill Razor. Now we are located in the Seekvaira laboratory where you can see a capsule where the chestnut entered. Then the capsule lights up where the Elementium became liquid as it was being crushed and began to enter Issei's body. But at that moment the machine started to beep as the system began to become unstable. At that the energy began to overload and Issei screamed in pain as he began to convulse. Like Norman Osborn in Spider-Man. And that the machine ends up exploding where Issei suffered a transformation, but it was not visible due to the smoke from the explosion. When everything becomes clear, Issei had a monstrous appearance with a huge nucleus in his head and reptilian eyes and sharp teeth. Issei. What is this, looking at himself in a mirror. This one felt stronger, although of course it had this strange shape. This saw water where when touching it, it absorbs it and in that its appearance becomes like water. Issei. Wow, I'm made of water, surprised. Sona. Issei-kun is you, surprised. Issei. Yes, Sona-chan, smiling. Seekvaira. But how did it happen? You look like a creature from a science fiction movie, surprised. Issei. I don't know but I feel powerful, smiling showing his sharp teeth. Saji. Issei, can you become human? You look scary with that, scared. Issei. Well, I must do it, serious. He began to concentrate and shrinks back into his human form. Issei. I thought it would be like this forever, but it wasn't like that, but in that form I need a name already. Elementor, smiling. Seekvaira. Now what will you do? Curious. Issei. Train with my new power so I never become weak again and one day that bastard Razor will pay for everything, seriously. Sona. But what if the Phoenix clan does something against you, curious. Issei. I'll take care of that since I always have a strategy, smiling. After that Issei would train in his Elementor form in order to master it. In the United States. We are in the city of San Francisco where we see an albino boy with blue eyes. This is Lincoln Winter, but he hides many scars under his clothes. And how did it happen? Lincoln was the only male in the Loud family made up of his 12 sisters, Lori, Leni, Luna, Lewin, Lynn, Linka, Liberty, Lucy, Lana, Lola, Lisa and the youngest baby Lily. But that bond was broken except for Lisa and Lily. It turns out that Lynn blamed Lincoln for bad luck for losing a baseball game and the whole family believed her. More to Lynn, and Lincoln had a lot of free time. By not helping his sisters, he began to feel lonely, but that was not the only thing that happened. They locked his room forcing him to sleep in the yard and the next day Lincoln confessed that he had lied to everyone that he had bad luck but no one believed him and when he went dressed as a squirrel to another baseball game where it would play, but in the end they won. But when Lincoln proved that he was there all along, instead of apologizing to Lincoln, they told him that he's not going to take off the squirrel suit. From that day on, Lincoln was not allowed back into the house. Loud and all the sisters and parents except Lisa and Lily attacked Lincoln with weapons like golf clubs, guitars, tools, heels, etc. And every time the sisters did badly at their events, they got even by hitting Lincoln, blaming him for their mistakes, including the parents except Lisa and Lily. At school it was worse because the Loud spread the rumor that Lincoln has bad luck and all his friends betrayed him except Clyde and Cookie. Lincoln had 3 girlfriends, Jordan, girl Christina and Molly, but one day he discovered that they never loved him, they only used him. But he also had another girlfriend who was a school teacher named Jennifer. Little by little he recovered the happiness that was taken away from him, but one day he discovered that she was cheating on him and that he was just a toy for Jennifer, meaning that the blonde only used Lincoln. From that day on, Lincoln lost the sparkle in his eyes and became a lonely person. Already fed up, this Loud escapes from the house by throwing sand at Lynn so that she doesn't hit him and he escapes with Lisa and Lily so that they don't suffer because of the Louds. Lincoln escaped in a truck with his little sisters and then arrived in San Francisco where they were found by a red-haired woman named Irene Bulsarian. She had a daughter named Urza. They found these young people alone and Irene decided to adopt them as her children. Lincoln, despite this, continued to be a lonely person. Irene asked what happened to him, but he didn't answer. Lisa told them everything the albino suffered. Beatings, torture, betrayals and heartbreak. They were very surprised how a child like Lincoln went through all that and all because of a superstition that isn't even real. Lincoln did not form ties with anyone because he was afraid of being betrayed. Urza and Irene did everything to cheer him up, but he never regained the sparkle in his eyes. But what Lincoln and his 2 sisters didn't know was that Irene is a dragon and Urza is too, but they also have magical abilities. Now we see Lincoln watching television, but his eyes still didn't shine, but then his sister Lisa approaches. Lisa. Big brother, I have a gift for you, smiling. Lincoln. Which Lisa, curious. Lisa. Come with me and you'll see, smiling. He followed his sister where they arrived at Lisa's room where she told him to close his eyes and then he felt something in his body where Lisa told him to open his eyes. Lincoln saw that he was wearing a dark-colored suit and he took out some knives. Lincoln. Wow Lisa, what is this, surprised. Lisa. It's my latest invention. This is a material called technomite, an nanotechnology type material. This suit can withstand anything, cold, heat, and it's also water resistant, smiling. Lincoln. Lisa, you shouldn't have bothered, with a small smile, but it wasn't noticeable because of the helmet. Lisa. It's so you're not always a lonely person. I may be a genius, but I miss my happy brother, a little sad. Lincoln just removed the blades and hugged his sister, and the helmet opened showing her face. Lisa. By the way, brother, I found out that a space rock with strange minerals arrived in a volcanic area in Hawaii. I would like you to bring me a sample, serious. Lincoln. It's okay since I have nothing else to do, but how will I get there? I don't have a driver's license, seriously. Lisa. Don't worry, the suit has a very fast jetpack, so there shouldn't be any problem, smiling. Lincoln. Understood, seriously. The helmet covers the albino's face where he makes a sign. I made the GIF. This uses the propellants where it comes out through the window that was large. The albino, through the helmet lenses, if he was going at that speed, would take approximately 30 minutes to arrive. This one reached a volcanic area where there was a lot of lava. Lincoln. This is interesting, seriously. This one finds some blue crystals. Lincoln. This is incredible, now I understand why my little sister loves them, they are incredible, surprised. But the suit tells him that there is danger and he dodges an attack and saw the person responsible who was a blue-haired woman. It should be noted that Kalwerner escaped before Rias killed her. Lincoln. Oh, who are you? Confused. Kalwerner. I came for those crystals, seriously. Lincoln. I'm sorry but I arrived first, seriously. She takes out her fallen angel wings where she then creates a spear of light and throws it at Lincoln, but he dodges it. Lincoln. I really didn't expect this but, seriously. He takes out one of the blades from his suit. Kalwerner. I didn't expect that, surprised. She created a spear of light again where the albino dodged it. Another spear was going to hit him, but with its blades he destroys it before it could touch him. But then she pushes him where the albino crashed into some rocks. But when they hit, some cracks in the rock appeared, where a large rock then fell. Lincoln and Kalwerner noticed the rock and moved, but the rock fell in the center of the rock bridge causing it to crack, but Lincoln saw that the ground where the blue-haired girl is cracked. This pushes her to where it wasn't broken, but Lincoln falls into the void where the blue-haired girl watched as he fell. Lincoln was about to fall into the lava, and the blue-haired girl tried to help him, but unfortunately Lincoln fell into the lava with the crystals. Kalwerner was horrified he saved her life from falling into the lava, and she couldn't save him. A few tears fell from her eyes where she then left, but she felt guilty for not being able to help the albino. But after the blue-haired girl left the lava, a hand with crystals came out where a body came out. It was Lincoln, but some crystals grew from his body, and he screamed. Lincoln looked like a monster, but he still had some sanity. But at that same moment he left the volcanic area, but he saw his reflection through the sea. Lincoln. But what happened to me? I remember how he fell into the lava, damn, the crystals fused with my body, what am I doing? I can't let them see me like this. Seriously. Then he saw a crow and grabbed it and said the following. Lincoln. Extract and transform, seriously. At that moment, a blue aura covers him, but when everything becomes clear, Lincoln has a different appearance. Imagine you are on the beach. This one began to fly faster than an eagle, since it had a better flight speed where it landed on a passenger plane. Lincoln. I know in this form I'll call myself extroyer, but I must concentrate if I want to recover my human form. He concentrates on trying to recover his human form. He tried once and nothing, but he did it other times and nothing. But in the last attempt he succeeds but quickly managed to turn on the propellants. Lincoln. Now I have to go back, but on the bright side I have other crystals, seriously. He puts on his helmet and then flies straight to San Francisco. Before finishing there are a few things. They've clarified that Issei and Lincoln will not be villains, but anti-heroes. And if they concentrate hard they can recover their human forms, but both are going to train their new powers. Chapter 2 Acquiring Powers. Kuoh City. After Issei acquired new powers in his new state, he called him Elementor since, as his name says, he can absorb and become elements. First, he obtained his form that he called Water Elementor. He accessed his water form and asked Seekvaira, she created a training room where he could enter. Sona decided to help her beloved as well as some of her entourage, so that he does not get carried away by power and become corrupted. Seekvaira. The room is very powerful. I made it like the Dragon Ball time room, with pride. Sona. But how did you do it? You're not an expert in the power of time. Surprised. Seekvaira. Let's say I got help from someone, smiling. Elsewhere. We see a girl with 2 pigtails in her hair and a red dress, and a somewhat voluptuous figure and some guns. It was Kurumi Takasaki, a friend of Seekvaira, she has the power to control time. But one of her goals is to find her true love. She would like her beloved to have white hair since Issei only sees him as a friend. Kurumi. Someday I will find true love, excited. Returning to Issei. Issei turns into a water elemental and everyone gets into a fighting stance. When Issei is in his monster form he will be called Elementor. Elementor. come with everything, smiling. They attacked Issei with everything, giving him a lot of fight where the water guy defended himself without much problem. Sona would do her attacks where Elementor dodged them. Elementor. Well done, smiling. This would receive several attacks, and then Sona would create ice to attack Elementor, but he grabs a piece of ice within. Elementor. Wow ice new power, mocking. This would merge with a piece of ice where its appearance changes to one made of ice. Elementor. This is amazing, surprised. Now everyone got a chill with then Saji attacks him trapping him with his whip that he made with his sacred gear. Elementor. Saji, good strategy, but it won't be enough, smiling maliciously. This one grabs Saji and sends him flying where he is caught by Haruko. Elementor received many attacks at the same time where they saw Sona and her entourage with their hands raised and Seekvaira had her hands up as she threw her best attack. But when the atmosphere cleared up, Elementor was a little hurt but not much. He has barely mastered his new form, so he can get hurt. Elementor returned to being Issei, but he fell to the ground as he was somewhat exhausted. Issei. I think we overdid it, agitated. After a good rest, Issei trained with Seekvaira and Sona, where over time in the room, Issei already mastered his water and ice modes. He was also able to access the balance breaker for longer, since when he started training he wanted to master Drake's power so that he wouldn't be disappointed in him. Then they left the room where they were surprised to find that only 4 hours had passed outside the room. Issei went to eat something with Sona, but when he arrived at a park, Issei heard an unpleasant voice. It's time for your useless punishment, arrogant. Issei turned around and saw the people he hated the most, Rias and her entourage. Issei. Don't even think I'll let you do anything to me, seriously. Akeno. I see that someone deserves to be punished, taking out her lightning. She throws some rays at Issei, but he enters his Elementor form. Rias and the others couldn't believe what they were seeing. Rias. What? Surprised. Akeno. I didn't expect that, surprised. Kaneko. How horrible, scared. Asia was so scared that she ended up peeing. It should be noted that Sona put up a barrier so that no one could see the fight. Elementor grabs Akeno's lightning bolts and puts on a grim smile. Elementor. Electricity not bad, smiling maliciously. This absorbed the rays that Akeno threw at him, where his appearance changed to a more grotesque one. Elementor. Now the roles are going to change, mocking. This one throws rays at Akeno, burning her a little. Akeno. Screaming in pain. Thiba would take out his swords, but Elementor grabs him and kicks him, crashing him into a tree. Thiba angrily summons the swords that appeared in the raiding game against Razor, but Elementor dodged them, and at that moment he grabs Kiba and electrocutes him until he is unconscious. Kaneko hit him, but he screamed in pain after hitting Elementor. Kaneko. Screaming in pain. It turns out that when Kaneko hit Elementor in his lightning form, she got burned because some lightning bolts came out of Elementor and electrocuted her. Asia was so scared that she ends up fainting, and Rias would charge an attack of destruction and then. Rias. Swallow this you useless damn thing, annoyed. She throws her attack at Elementor, but he dodges it and then throws some lightning bolts at Rias, burning her a little. Rias. Screaming in pain. Then Elementor steps on her, leaving her wounded, and then he turned back into Issei. Sona used her magic to fix the damage and left with Issei, leaving the Gremory entourage injured. In San Francisco. We see Lincoln eating with his little sister Lisa and little Lily. It is thanks to them that he did not lose his sanity since he loved them very much. Lincoln. What are we going to do? Seriously. Lisa only saw how lonely Lincoln was. She doesn't blame him since he suffered betrayals and torture just because of a superstition. Lisa. Big brother, I've noticed something about you, seriously. Lincoln. What? Confused. Lisa. Come to my room later, seriously. Lincoln. It's okay Lisa, seriously. He accompanied Lisa to the room where she later spoke. Lisa. You see, big brother, the crystals you brought me are called morphosos. They are very rare since they are from space, but what happened when you got them? Curious. Lincoln. Well, someone tried to take them away from me, but I was able to escape, seriously. Lisa. I see if you want the suit you can keep it, that was my gift to you, and now you can leave my room, seriously. Lincoln left the room where he then went out to tour the city, and he activated the thrusters where he then landed in a small forest in Oakland. This accesses its extroyer form to train. Extroyer. I must train myself not to get carried away by power, seriously. He began to train where he gave some combat movements and did concentration. This one could destroy rocks and small trees, and then he saw a scorpion. Extroyer touches the scorpion and then. Extroyer. Extract and transform, serious. At that an aura surrounds Extroyer where he now had the appearance of a scorpion, but with amorphous crystals. Extroyer. This isn't bad at all, but I need to master my transformation, seriously. He trained with his scorpion form, but it wasn't that complicated since he was an insect. The extroyer then continued with his training until it began to get dark. This one returned to its base form and was about to leave. This one saw a bat and then grabbed it. The extroyer. Extract and transform, serious. This turns into a huge bat. The extroyer returned to San Francisco and upon arriving at the house, he transformed back into Lincoln. It should be noted that Lincoln announced that he was going to train but did not mention the morphos. Lincoln. What a day, at least I have new transformations, seriously. He went to dinner since he was told they were going to dinner and then he sat at the table. But what Lincoln didn't know was that Urza and Irene would tell them something that happened. See it in the next chapter. Chapter 3. Journey to Kuoh. Lincoln and his sisters were watching Urza and Irene, who both had a serious look. Urza. We have something to tell you, seriously. Lisa. What do you have to tell us? Confused. Irene. What we have to say is, sighing, we are not human, but I am a dragon and my daughter is half dragon, seriously. Lincoln. Lisa. Kuoh. Lily had a look of astonishment on her face as she could barely say a few things. To prove otherwise, Urza activates one of her armors. Lisa. But how is that possible, surprised. Irene. I'm going to explain everything to you, seriously. This tells them all about the supernatural and the factions and the holy war, where the brothers were quite surprised. Lincoln still had a blank look that broke everyone's hearts. It's not that Lincoln doesn't love them, since he barely smiles when his little sisters spend time with him. Lincoln. I didn't see that coming, but I thought it was fake, but with all the things I've experienced, I'm going to believe them, muffled voice. Urza. Linky, why don't you smile? Worried. Lincoln. It's nothing, voice muffled. Urza didn't want to see him in that state, but she knew the reason, and she doesn't understand how those bitches who claimed to love him abandoned him because of a ridiculous superstition. Irene. But I've decided that we'll go live in Japan, smiling. Lisa. What do you eat? Surprised. Irene. It's not a problem since I have some houses there and I have everything I need, smiling. Then through a magic circle they all arrive at the city of Kuoh, Japan. They appear in front of a large house that was on a hill where the entire city could be seen. Irene. This is our house, smiling. This guides them to their abilities, where Lincoln saw his new room. Lincoln just smiled a little but still had a lifeless look, but that wouldn't stop him. Irene decided to enroll Lincoln and Urza in Kuoh Academy, while Lisa and Lily in a nearby elementary school. Lincoln and Urza entered, where they were surprised to see a white-haired boy, since the only albinos were Momo Hanakai, a member of the student council, and Kaneko Taoju, the academy's mascot and member of the occult club. They arrived at their respective classroom, where Urza introduced herself as Urza Scarlet and told them that she hates perverts. In Lincoln's living room. He enters his classroom, where the teacher then told him to introduce himself. Lincoln. I'm Lincoln Winter, and if you have questions, ask them, seriously. Student. Because your hair is white, is it dyed or natural? Curious. Lincoln. Answering your question is natural, seriously. Student 2. And why do you have a lifeless expression, curious? Lincoln. I prefer not to answer that, seriously. Many, seeing that expression, understood that he does not want to talk about the matter. He sits in one place, but behind him was Issei. He saw the lifeless look of the albino. Issei. What happened to him? Classes continued normally, but Issei felt a strange power in Lincoln and decided to go with Sona during break time. At break time, Issei went to the student council, where he told Sona about Lincoln. Sona. Then you feel a strange energy in him, curious. Issei. But not only that, but he has a lifeless look as if something happened to him before he got here, seriously. Sona. I understand, seriously. Saji. It must be that he was hurt, that's why he has that look, serious. Issei. Saji is right, something bad must have happened to him, seriously. Sona. I want you to bring him here. I don't want Rias to have him and do the same thing to him as she did to Issei, seriously. Issei. Of course, Sona, smiling. Han Lincoln. He walks through the halls, where he finds an empty room, but he thought it was closed, but it turns out it was open, and he saw a large number of instruments. Lincoln. I thought there wasn't a music room, but this proves otherwise, surprised. This after having escaped from the Louds, he began to practice music since he had a musical talent, but did not want problems with Luna, but Lincoln was much better than Luna at music since he focused on making the song make sense and have a meaning. Lincoln. I would like to have the music club, with a small smile. But in that you hear a voice. I see you like music, seriously. Lincoln turns around and sees a girl with long black hair and glasses. It was Tsubaki Shinra, the vice president of the student council and queen of Sona. Lincoln. How can I help you? Voice muffled. Tsubaki. I saw the door open and I already know your name Lincoln, seriously. But deep down he was chilled by Lincoln's lifeless stare. Lincoln, I'm sorry, seriously. Tsubaki. Don't worry, I don't mind you being here, no one has come here in a long time, but I need you to accompany me to the student council, seriously. Lincoln. I'm in trouble, confused. Tsubaki. No, it's not that, but Sona, the student council president, wants to talk to you, seriously. Lincoln. Normally I would refuse, but I don't want to be rude so I'll go, seriously. Tsubaki and Lincoln went to the student council where they were waiting for him. Issei, Sona and their entourage were at some tables. Lincoln. Which of you is Sona? Curious. A short-haired brunette with glasses raises her hand. Sona. Welcome Lincoln. Issei told me your name, seriously. Lincoln. And what does Sona want to know? Curious. Sona. Well I just want to say, she is interrupted. Lincoln. I know they are demons, seriously. No one believed what they heard as he knows they are demons. Sona. Wait, how do you know? Surprised. Lincoln. It's obvious his energy is not human, seriously. Saji. But how is it possible? Surprised. Lincoln. I can detect energy, seriously. Issei. But how can you do that? Surprised. Lincoln. I'll show them later since this is not the place, seriously. Sona understood what he meant, so they decided to wait until the exit. Later classes ended where Lincoln told Urza that he would go home after she accepted, and then Lincoln went with the student council. They were in a remote room where Lincoln stood in front of the other members of the student council. Lincoln. First I'll show you my suit, seriously. This is covered by a technological material, thus creating its suit and taking out its blades. Everyone was quite surprised that Lincoln had such a suit. Issei. Where did you get that suit? Surprised. Lincoln. A gift from my sister is a nanotechnology type material, seriously. Saji. You have to admit, it looks good, smiling. Issei. I wish I had a suit like that, seriously. Lincoln. Attack, seriously. Sona. But we don't want to hurt you, worried. Lincoln. Don't worry about fighting, smiling, but it wasn't noticeable because of the helmet. So the pieces of Sona launched themselves into fighting against Lincoln, where he knew many combat movements, and the girls knew how to fight. Only Lincoln had an advantage against Sona's pieces since he had combat experience. Thanks to his skills, he managed to defeat the girls except Saji, Issei, Sona, and his queen, but the girls were only unconscious and had no injuries. Issei. I see that you are agile, but I would need something better, seriously. This one becomes a water elemental to fight. Lincoln. They're not the only ones with tricks, mocking. This becomes extroyer surprising everyone. Sona. But how, surprised. Tsubaki. It's possible, finishing the sentence. Extroyer. What are you waiting for? Mocking. Thus they launched themselves against Extroyer, where he fought like a ninja master, but Elementor gave him more of a fight. Saji catches him with his sacred gear, but Extroyer grabs him and brings him closer. Extroyer. How interesting, but smiling. He puts his hand on Saji's chest and then says. Extroyer. Extract and acquire, serious. If it is with animals it is to extract and transform, but with sacred gear, it only extracts a little of the power and pieces, or part of the genetic code. If it has a sealed beast it does not extract the sacred gear as such. At that moment, a glow surrounded Extroyer Saji, who felt weak as if some of his power had been taken away, and he fell to the ground. Vitra manifests in the gem of Saji's sacred gear. Vitra. Mate, he extracted part of my power and part of my DNA, seriously. Saji. But how is it possible, surprised. Extroyer. It's easy with my extract and acquire I can extract the genetic code and power of my target, Burlon. Elementor. I see you have interesting powers, but we'll see what you're capable of, seriously. Saji couldn't continue the fight because he felt weak, and then Elementor and Extroyer started a fight where both were equal. Extroyer turns into a scorpion to fight where Elementor defended himself very well. Sona saw how Extroyer extracted some of Saji's power. She felt true terror, but because he is not a psychopath. Obviously thanks to the love Lincoln has for his little sisters he doesn't lose his sanity. But the fight continued on its course where Extroyer returns to his base form and manifests fingerless gloves with a cannon where whips come out. Extroyer. This is amazing, seriously. Extroyer catches Elementor with his whips, but since he was made of water he was freed without much trouble. Elementor. Let's make this more interesting, smiling. Extroyer. So be it, smiling. Elementor. Time for a change, seriously. Elementor changed to his lightning form where the fight continued where both gave their best and both began to charge their best attack where there was a clash of powers. It was so much power that everything began to shake, but then the attack ended up exploding. When everything is cleared up, Lincoln and Issei are seen back in their human forms, but with their clothes torn. Sona takes them to the student council to cure them. Sona put up a barrier so no one saw the fight. Now Sona and the others know that Lincoln has powers. What will happen? See it in the next chapter. Chapter 4 Lincoln vs Clan Gremory. We are in the student council where Issei and Lincoln had already been cured and then Sona started talking. Sona. How is it possible that you have powers, Lincoln-san? Curious. Lincoln. It's a long story and I'm not crazy because I'm doing it for them, seriously. Issei. Who? Confused. Lincoln would take a photo showing a girl with glasses and a baby. Lincoln. They are my little sisters because they are important to me, it is because of them that I did not go crazy or lose my sanity, seriously. Tsubaki. They are very cute, especially the baby, blushing. Lincoln. But you also showed me that I can trust you, but well, I'll tell you everything, seriously. He tells them everything the Louds did to him and how his girlfriends betrayed him. Obviously, he didn't say that Urza and Irene weren't human, and he also told them how he got his powers. Everyone was in shock at how they could have treated a child like Lincoln like that, who didn't deserve anything like that. Issei, Saji, Sona and Tsubaki wanted to kill the Louds, but the angriest was Tsubaki, since she wanted to kill the bitches who only used the albino. But in the case of the others, they cried after hearing all the cruelty that Lincoln had to go through. Issei. Damn you, bad luck isn't real, annoyed. Lincoln. Since that day I am a lonely person, voice muffled. But to everyone's surprise, Tsubaki gives Lincoln a big hug. Tsubaki. It's not always good to be lonely. You may be hurt by the betrayal you had to go through, sad. Lincoln simply accepted the hug from the Queen of Sona. Issei. And to think that what you had to go through is worse than my suffering, seriously. Lincoln. What are you talking about? Confused. Issei tells him about how he used to be part of the Gremory clan, but also how he lost a raiding game against Razor, how Rias always used him, and how he discovered that Razor killed his parents, and how he obtained his powers. Lincoln. I admit that was horrible, but at least you didn't get accused of a ridiculous superstition, seriously. After that they went out to fix the mess of the battle where then Issei dodges an attack of destruction. There everyone saw the Gremory entourage, but Rias saw Lincoln where she was then surprised. Rias. And who is he, pointing at Lincoln. Lincoln. She's the one with period hair, mocking. She got very angry because of the insult Lincoln gave her. Rias. As you told me, annoyed. Lincoln. As you heard, period hairs, mocking. At that Kiba would take out his sword, but Lincoln would activate his suit where he then stops Kiba's attack. Lincoln. Nice try pretty boy, but I have tricks up my sleeve, mocking. This will activate the swords on his suit. I made the gif. Rias and her entourage were surprised to see how he pulled out some swords from his suit. Kiba launched himself into a fight against Lincoln, where he defended himself with his swords from the Gremory Knight's attacks. He activates his swords, but Lincoln jumps, dodging the blonde's attack. Lincoln. So we showed powers, huh, mocking. This becomes extroyer surprising everyone except Issei and the Sitri entourage who already knew. Extroyer. If that's how things are, now I'll show you my power, seriously. This activates its power where blades then come out. He began to humiliate Kiba, where the blonde gave his all since he could barely fight him, but Kiba grabbed him. Extroyer. You always depend on your speed and your swords, that's a disadvantage, mocking. So he stabs Kiba and he ends up fainting from the pain. Kaneko, enraged, attacks him, but Extroyer defends himself without much trouble and knocks her unconscious with a blow to the neck. Akeno would take out her lightning and attack Extroyer, but he dodges her lightning although some hit him, but they did not do any damage. Extroyer runs and then grabs Akeno and puts his hand on Akeno's stomach. Extroyer. Extract and acquire, serious. Akeno felt weak as she felt that part of her powers and genetic code were being extracted. Extroyer manifests the rays but now in blue color. Extroyer. What about this test, mocking. He launches a lightning attack at Akeno, seriously injuring her. Akeno was later seen lying on the ground unconscious and with severe burns. Rias saw this, how is it possible that just by saying a few things he took away part of Akeno's power? She launches an attack of destruction at him, but Extroyer dodges it. Extroyer runs towards Rias and grabs her stomach. Extroyer. Extract and acquire, serious. So Rias felt like something was being taken away from her. Then that Extroyer returns to his human form, but he would take out some blue flames. Rias saw that it was the power of destruction, she said. Rias. But how is it possible that you have my power, surprised. Lincoln. It's my extract and acquire I can extract the genetic code and part of the power of my target, mocking. Rias launches more attacks, but the albino defends himself like a professional ninja. In this, he throws a powerful attack that hurts Rias, not seriously, but it hurts her quite a bit. Sona repaired the damage with her magic and everyone left, leaving Rias and her entourage humiliated. Chapter 5. The Gabriel cadre and the truth. In an African jungle. We see two beings with their respective suits. They were Issei and Lincoln, who were looking for some minerals that they were asked to look for. Blades are not activated. Issei. You said your sister made you that suit, curious. Lincoln. Yes, despite her age, she does many things and she and Lily are my reason. I would give anything so that they don't suffer the same as me, seriously. Issei. At least you have your sisters since that damn razor killed my parents, sad. Lincoln. Don't worry, he'll pay for everything he did, seriously. After that they meet a gorilla, but it attacks them, but Lincoln becomes an alien. Extroyer. Extract and transform, serious. At that the gorilla faints upon feeling that something was extracted from him and an aura surrounds Extroyer, and when the brightness ends, Extroyer now had the appearance of a gorilla but with amorphous crystals. Extroyer. Don't worry, he's not dead, he's just tired, but I love this way, seriously. Issei. Although you look a little scary, serious. Extroyer. I'll be in this form to get used to it, seriously. So both continued on their way where they then reached an area where there were snakes where Extroyer used his power. Extroyer. Extract and transform, serious. So Extroyer becomes a snake. Issei becomes Elementor where he absorbs sand where he becomes Elementor sand. Elementor. I love it so I can get into places I couldn't get into, smiling. Extroyer and Elementor quickly entered a cavern where they discovered a passageway that led them to a volcanic area. Elementor absorbs some lava where it then turns into Elementor magma or fire. Elementor. This is great, excited. Extroyer returns to his base form where he finds several morphous crystals. Extroyer absorbs some to become stronger, but Elementor saw the crystals and approaches. Elementor. What is that, curious? Extroyer. Morpho crystals are a source of power like Elementium, but they are the reason I can extract the genetic code and part of the power of my target, seriously. Elementor. What would happen if I absorbed some, curious? Extroyer. I don't know, try it, seriously. Elementor began to absorb some of the morphous crystals, thus acquiring many powers. Elementor now looked like his ice mode, but with the morphous crystals. Elementor. I feel powerful, but I must control myself or else I will explore, seriously. Extroyer. If it suits you, although combining elements with morphosos will make you more powerful, seriously. After that they continued exploring where later Extroyer sees a dinosaur skeleton with morphous crystals. Extroyer. Oh yes, extract and transform, seriously. So Extroyer becomes a dinosaur, more specifically a Tyrannosaurus rex. Extroyer sees another skeleton where he uses his extract and transforms into a Giganotosaurus. Surprise, some transformations are invented by me. After investigating, they take some crystals, but they return to normal. They return to Kuoh where Lincoln flies home. I made the GIF, just ignore Max. The next day at the academy, Issei and Lincoln were in the student council, but two-headed women arrive and take off their hoods, revealing two girls. One had orange-brown hair tied in two pigtails and violet eyes, and the other had short blue hair with a green streak and yellow eyes. Sona. Issei, Lincoln, they are sent by the church, their names are Irina Shido and Zenobia Quarta, serious. But the one known as Irina looked at Issei a lot. Issei. Ah, why are you looking at me so much? With a drop of sweat. Irina. You don't remember me, Issei, I'm Irina. I pretended to be Shido, your childhood friend, pouting. Issei was shocked. Shido, his childhood friend, was actually a girl, and she looks beautiful. But Zenobia looked at Lincoln a lot. This made her very uncomfortable. Lincoln. In case you have any questions, I'm not a demon, seriously. Zenobia. I see, seriously. Issei. And what are you doing here, curious? As in the anime they explain about the theft of the sacred swords where there is then a fight. Irina and Zenobia show off their fighting outfits. Issei and Lincoln would go with their suits for combat. Irina. Those outfits are weird, seriously. Issei. At least we don't wear tight suits that show off our bodies, seriously. Both blush slightly, but now the first fight would be between Irina and Issei. Both stared at each other where Issei then created a futuristic sword. Issei and Irina started to fight, the fight was quite even. Issei. Do you remember those kendo sword battles? Smiling. Irina. Yes, I remember and I always beat you, smiling. Issei. But this time things are going to change, challenger. And that Issei used his enhanced speed where he then makes Irina's sword get stuck in the tree. Issei then appears behind Irina and hits her in the neck, knocking her out. Issei won the fight against Irina, where the fight between Lincoln and Zenobia comes next. Zenobia. You have a sword, challenger. Lincoln. I don't need it when I have this, activating his sword. Zenobia. But how is it possible, surprised. Lincoln. Nanotechnology. Seriously. Thus began a fight between the two where Lincoln was a good strategist, he avoided Zenobia since he trained after school. Lincoln. You don't fight badly at all, you certainly have talent as a swordsman, smiling. Zenobia blushed slightly and then she gave Lincoln more of a fight and then the fight continued its course. But at that moment Rias and her entourage appear where they see the fight, but Kiba sees Zenobia's sword and he gets quite angry and summons his sword and launches himself to attack Zenobia. But Lincoln stops him so he doesn't hurt him. Lincoln. Who invited you, pretty boy? Seriously. Before there was a fight, Sona tells the story of how everyone left. But Issei offered Irina to stay at his house, but Lincoln was about to leave, but Zenobia stops him. Zenobia. I can stay at your house, blushing. Lincoln. Of course Zenobia, smiling. Both went to the Bulsirian residence. Later Hyoudou residence. Issei was with Irina serving him food. She noticed that Issei's parents were not there. Irina. Issei and your parents, curious. She knew about the supernatural through some exorcists. Issei. My parents were killed by Razor, sad. Irina. What? Surprised. Issei tells her what happened since he lost the rating game against Razor where then Irina hugs Issei. Irina. Issei, I'm sorry about what happened to your parents, sad. Issei. I'm going to kill that trash Razor, he'll pay for everything he did, seriously. Irina. What will you do now? Curious. Issei. I don't know but I'll go to sleep, I'm sleepy, seriously. Issei went to sleep and Irina went to sleep in a guest room. In the Bulsirian residence. Urza and Irene met Zenobia where they treated her like one of the family. She went to sleep in a guest room. The next day. Issei came up with the idea that they should destroy the swords but convinces Saji, but to avoid problems with Sona Issei went to talk to her. Issei. Sona-chan, to make up for letting Saji help us, I'll take you on a date, smiling. Sona blushed a lot, she had wanted a date with Issei for a long time. Sona. I accept but I want our date to be special, blushing slightly. Issei. Of course, smiling. After that, like in the anime, Kaneko and Kiba join, but Issei didn't want to, but he said a few words to them. Issei. I don't care if they die, seriously. After that, they join Lincoln and Urza, where they would then face Freed, where Balba Galilei then appears. Kiba wanted to kill him, but in the end he ends up escaping where Irina would later be hurt and then they take her to heal her. The person responsible for the theft of the sacred swords appears, a cadre named Gabriel. Gabriel arrived at the academy where Rias then attacked him but didn't even tickle him. Gabriel. Pathetic, you don't even train, mocking. This humiliates Rias and after that he summons the Cerberus and creates his Excalibur. When Gabriel was going to attack Sona, she was protected by Issei. Issei. You know, I don't care if you humiliated the menstruation hair, but I won't let you attack Sona, seriously. He was about to launch himself, but Lincoln stopped him. Lincoln. I'll take care of him, seriously. Issei, Puro Lincoln Serio. Lincoln. Let me take care of him, seriously. Issei saw the albino's determination so he accepted. Lincoln enters his extroyer form, surprising Urza. Urza. Lincoln, surprised. Extroyer. I prefer to be called extroyer this way, seriously. Extroyer turns into a gorilla where he then fights against the cadre. He tried to use his sword, but extroyer was giving him quite a fight. The Cerberus attacked the Sitri entourage, but Issei killed them. Urza had finished off Balba, but she was going to be killed by a Gabriel attack, but extroyer takes her out of the way. As in the anime Gabriel reveals that God is dead just like the original Lucifer. Everyone was shocked except one, who was Lincoln. He already knew it since one of the powers he awakened was seeing the past. Extroyer. You'll pay, damn you, annoyed. At that, Extroyer launches himself against Gabriel, who then grabs him by the neck and puts his hand on Gabriel's chest. Extroyer. Extract and acquire, serious. Gabriel felt that something was being taken from him and then Extroyer created a light sword. Gabriel was a little weak from extracting and acquiring Extroyer and saw how he created the lightsaber. Gabriel. What the hell did you do to me, annoyed. Extroyer. Now I have the same power as you fool, mocking. Thus, in a quick movement, he cuts off two of Gabriel's wings. Gabriel, gritando de dolor. In that, Extroyer cuts off his legs and then the remaining wings, where Gabriel was then tortured, where Extroyer then uses the power of destruction to finish off Gabriel. Once Gabriel was killed, a white armor appears. Where is Gabriel, female voice. Extroyer returned to his human form where he then speaks. Lincoln. He's dead, but take the crazy exorcist who escaped from the asylum, seriously. This throws Freed where the girl in armor catches him. Like in the anime, Drake and Albion talk, and then the girl leaves with an unconscious Freed. At that moment Stella, Ria's older sister, and Seraphol, Sona's older sister, appear. They went to see their younger sisters, but there was also Razor. Stella. What happened here, seriously? Issei. Well Stella, I'll tell you what happened, seriously. This tells of Gabriel's plan, but Lincoln killed him and points to the albino. But Seraphol looked at the albino with a blush since she thought he was cute. But then Issei is attacked by Razor, but Lincoln deflects the attack. Razor. Wow, he is a brat, mocking. Stella. Razor, what are you doing, seriously? Razor. It's not obvious to kill this trash, arrogant. And that he would take out an amulet that Stella recognizes, but Razor activates it and Rias and her entourage feel a lot of pain. Rias. Razor, what are you doing, screaming in pain. Razor. It's not obvious I'm taking away your power, I never loved them, arrogant. That felt like a bucket of cold water on Ria's. Razor, he never loved her, he just used her. Razor. You thought I loved you, how stupid you were, arrogant. Rias and the girls in her entourage burst into tears. At that moment Issei becomes Elementor, surprising everyone except Lincoln and the others who already knew. Elementor. By the way Razor, what else did you do, seriously? Razor. Oh yes, I remember I killed your parents for fun, arrogant. Stella heard everything. Razor killed humans when that was forbidden. And that Elementor becomes his version Elementor Lava, now he will be able to avenge his parents. Then a fight began where Razor fought against Elementor where the latter defended himself. Elementor. What's going on, bird? You're not hurting me, mockingly. Razor. Shut up, annoyed. This combines his fire with the power of destruction where he throws it at Elementor, but he turns into his water form where he launches attacks extinguishing the attack. Elementor. Try a powerful attack, mocking. This now Gambia in his lightning form to launch a powerful attack on the Razor, hurting him. Razor gets up with difficulty where he would later try to use his regeneration, but he could barely use it. Elementor uses his Morphoso mode to absorb the Razor's powers, leaving him weak, and with a combined attack, the Razor was left dying. Razor. Please don't kill me, terrified. Elementor. This is for my parents, annoyed. This one with its fire mode throws a sea of lava on Razor, burning him until nothing is left. Elementor returned to his normal form but was exhausted. Issei. Finally my parents have been avenged, relieved. But then Stella approaches Issei and she had many questions. Stella. Issei, what happened when you lost the rating game, serious? Now Issei would tell him the truth about what happened after losing the rating game, what would happen. See it in the next chapter. Chapter 6 Kratos and Murayama. Issei had finally killed the person responsible for his parents' death and right now he was standing in front of Ria's sister Stella. Lucifer. Stella. Now Issei, can you tell me what happened after they lost the rating game, seriously? Issei will now tell the whole truth about what happened and finally Rias will get the punishment she so deserves. Issei. Well Stella-chan, let me start from the beginning of what happened before I killed Razor, seriously. Issei began to recount everything that happened since they lost the rating game to break the engagement where Rias and her entourage did to him and all the tortures and how she reincarnated him without consulting him and how Sona and her entourage helped him, then how he found the lifeless bodies of his parents and then how he obtained his powers and his Elementor form. Stella was in shock and her surprise changed to fury and then she approached Rias and slapped her, knocking her to the ground. Bills is Stella and Bulma is Rias. Stella. How dare you laugh? Our parents didn't raise you like this, to torture your pieces in this way, annoyed. Issei. Wait, I think I forgot to take this out, taking a bag out of his pocket. Then he opens the bag and then turns it over and finds 8 things that Rias recognized as pawn pieces. Issei. From now on I am no longer your pawn. Rias Gremory, serious. Thanks to the Elementium Issei was able to remove the pawn pieces without dying. Stella. Rias, our parents will be very disappointed in you, but now Issei-kun, who is he? Looking at Lincoln. Issei. He's my new best friend. Lincoln, smiling. A certain blonde from the Gremory clan felt a pang upon hearing that he was replaced as Issei's best friend. Lincoln. Hello, seriously. Seraphol. What's wrong with her and what's wrong with her eyes because they're dull, curious. Issei. Well, it's a long story and I can, looking at Lincoln. He nodded where Issei tells the story of Lincoln leaving everyone shocked except Urza and Sona and their entourage who already knew the story. Seraphol was shocked. She wanted to kill Lin Jr. since she was responsible for everything and the bitches who only used Lincoln. Stella was very angry. She wanted to kill the Louds for doing such a stupid thing. But surprisingly Serafal hugged Lincoln, putting him between her breasts, making Tsubaki and Urza jealous, and a piece of Sona as well as Zenobia. Afterwards, Stella takes Rias and her entourage to the Gremory clan to find out what their punishment would be. The next day, Zenobia entered the academy as a new student and she lives with Lincoln, and then she became another piece of Sona's entourage. Irina went to return some of the swords, but not before saying goodbye to Issei and giving him a kiss on the lips, making Sona and some pieces jealous. Something I forgot to mention is that Saji has a relationship with Ria and Haruko. After that we see Issei, who had the task of killing some renegade demons, but he didn't realize that he was being followed by Kratos and Murayama. They followed him to see why he always left quickly. Kratos: I bet he's going to spy on girls, seriously. Murayama: it's the only thing he knows how to do, seriously. Issei arrived at an abandoned factory and he enters. Kratos and Murayama enter, but saw that Issei was no longer there. Murayama: but how, surprised. Kratos: it doesn't make sense. I was here a few seconds ago, confused. But at that moment they hear footsteps and something appears behind them. They both turn around and see a horrible spider-like creature. Renegade demon. Oh well, but lunch has arrived, showing his teeth. Both screamed in horror and tried to escape. But the creature caught Murayama, and when he was about to eat it, he received a kick in the face. The person responsible was Issei, who caught Murayama in a bridal manner. She blushes, but Issei puts her down and then. Issei: if you want an explanation, I'll give it to you later, seriously. He launched himself against the renegade demon, and then he was faster than him, where then Issei cut the renegade demon into pieces. The girls watched in amazement as Issei fought, but then he approached. Kratos: hi, do we demand an explanation, terrified. Issei: I'll give you an answer, seriously. Issei tells them everything about how he was killed by his first girlfriend and the supernatural. The two were shocked by this revelation, but Issei shed small tears since despite having killed Razor, he missed his parents. But to Kratos Murayama's surprise, he hugs him. Murayama: I thought you were just a hopeless pervert, but you proved me wrong by saving me, blushing. Kratos: Issei, we didn't know more about you, but this proves otherwise, seriously. Issei: by the way, girls, I'm sorry for spying on you in the past. I apologize for spying on you, sorry. But Kratos joins the hug, where she then speaks. Kratos: don't worry, we're sorry for attacking you, sadly. Issei: don't worry, I deserved it, smiling. Murayama: what will we do, seriously? Issei: girls, please don't tell anyone about this, seriously. Kratos and Murayama had an idea. Kratos: we promise, but on one condition, cunning. Issei: which one, curious. Murayama: it's easy for you to have a date with us, flirty. Issei knew that if he refused they would reveal everything, so he said. Issei: okay, blushing. Then the three left the abandoned factory, where Issei took them on a date so they wouldn't reveal their secret. Chapter 7: The Pool. It was a new day in the city of Kuoh, where we see Issei waking up, but he felt an extra weight and saw Sona, Yura and Tony completely naked, something that made him blush quite a bit. Issei: good morning girls, blushing. The three of them yawn and then rub their eyes. Sona: good morning Issei-kun, blushing. Issei: what are you doing in my room? Curious. Yura: it's not obvious now, we're going to live with you, blushing. Issei: what, but how, surprised. Sona: it's so you don't feel so alone, Issei-kun, blushing. Tomo: we won't leave you alone, smiling. Issei: well, at least I'll have company during this time, blushing. Then the four of them get dressed and then go make breakfast. Ulcerian residence. Lincoln was waking up but saw Urza sleeping with him. But she was naked, something that confused him a little. Lincoln is somewhat innocent, therefore he doesn't understand some things. After getting up, Lincoln went to take a shower, and when he finished, he had a well-toned body despite the scars that the Louds made him. He saw Zenobia preparing the food, where he sat down to eat. Later at the academy. Issei and Lincoln arrived at the academy, but they were accompanied by the girls, but when they arrived they went to their respective classrooms, where classes then began. After the break, Lincoln was in the music room, where he would find a guitar and began to play it, where he then began to sing. Lincoln had a great passion for music, he was better than Luna since she was not good at it. But what Lincoln didn't know was that Tsubaki had heard the song. A few tears rolled down Tsubaki's cheeks. It was a very beautiful song. Tsubaki enters the music room, leaving Lincoln surprised since he didn't hear when she entered. Lincoln: Tsubaki, what brings you here? Curious. Tsubaki: you sang beautifully, sobbing. Lincoln: it was my talent, since I'm better than that fifth-rate rocker, seriously. Tsubaki: since when do you play the guitar, curious? Lincoln: I always practiced in secret before the bad luck so as not to have problems with Luna, but now that she is no longer my sister, I don't care about taking away her talent, seriously. Tsubaki. He deserves it for everything he did to you, seriously. After that Lincoln would leave the room, but when he walked away Tsubaki sighs. Tsubaki. Linky, you didn't deserve everything they did to you. I don't know why that bitch blamed you for something as ridiculous as bad luck, and I don't know why those bitches abandoned you. You are everything a girl wants to wish for. You are perfect. You have a good heart, you are intelligent, cute, you care about others. That's what a girl wants from the boy of her dreams, blushing. Later. Issei and Sona were on a date where Issei then took her to the movies to see the Krakens and Sirens movie. After finishing watching the movie, they both left the cinema. Issei. Who would say that Chelsea looks just like Ariel, smiling. Sona. And it turns out that the mermaids there are evil, smiling. Issei. Let's not forget that Kraken are like humans out of water except for their blue skin, and when they are in the water they are huge, smiling. Sona. And I was shocked to learn that Chelsea was the queen of the mermaids, seriously. After that they went to the Hyoudou residence where upon entering the room, Issei is kissed by Sona on the lips. Sona. Issei-kun can't take it anymore, blushing. She throws herself on Issei where she then begins to kiss him in a lustful manner. Lemon skipped. The next day at the Kuoh Academy pool. The pool was dirty, but Lincoln would draw on the power of destruction and throw it into the water, disintegrating it. Then everyone helped clean it, and once it was ready Issei cast a spell to make water fall into the pool. Issei and Lincoln were wearing shorts. Issei was wearing blue shorts, but he had his shirt on, which confused them. Issei. Why don't you take off your shirt, confused. Lincoln. Well, I have no choice since I can't always hide things, seriously. At that moment Lincoln takes off his shirt, but the girls were horrified. Lincoln had some scars, some were not very noticeable, but he had one in particular. This was on Lincoln's chest, it was a line that was on his torso near his abdomen. Urza. But how did they do that to you, scared? Lincoln. Well, this one was done to me by the psychopath Lola. It turns out she lost a beauty pageant and she came with a fury that seemed taken from a horror movie and she took a knife and stabbed me and said things like, "Damn you, I wish you die, you deserve the worst, damn scum." Things like that, but I was about to die, but Lisa helped me with a chemical to seal that wound, but the scar remained, remembering how Lola almost killed him. Many were horrified by this revelation how someone could be so cruel. After that the girls show their swimsuits. Sorry I didn't find a better image. Most people were looking at Issei, but Urza and Tsubaki went swimming with Lincoln. The albino enjoyed the pool without the louds ruining it, since he remembered that it was because of the Lincoln sisters and they were expelled. The first was because Lynn played at knocking herself down while the elders swam, and the next it was because Lana drank the pool water, saying it was like soup and ruined it by throwing celery and carrots in it, and the third, well Lily accidentally did it in the pool, it's not her fault, since she is a baby who doesn't know many things. Lincoln was finally enjoying things without the louds ruining it. After a while Issei and Lincoln had a diving competition which ended in a tie. After. Issei was helping Sona put suntan lotion on her back like the others. Lincoln was relaxing, but at that moment Urza speaks to him. Urza. Lincoln, could you put some sunscreen on me? Blushing. Lincoln. It's okay, smiling. Lincoln applies sunscreen to Urza. Everything was going well, but at that moment, Momo interrupts, putting her breasts on Lincoln's back, something that surprised him. As I explained before, Lincoln is somewhat innocent. Urza got very angry about this act, and so they both started to fight in a comical way. Lincoln ran out to where the locker rooms are. Lincoln. At least Lisa and Lily aren't here because otherwise they would be traumatized. Lisa may know a lot of things, but she's still a little girl, with a drop of sweat. But the albino hears a voice. Linky, what are you doing here, seriously? Lincoln turns around and saw Zenobia wearing a swimsuit. Lincoln. Zenobia, but where have you been, surprised? Zenobia. It's the first time I wear a swimsuit, how I look, curious. Lincoln. They weren't allowed to swim in the church, confused. Zenobia. It's not that, but I was never attracted to being so feminine, seriously. Lincoln. I see, confused. Zenobia. Lincoln, now that I know God is dead, I thought my life would be meaningless, but now I have a goal, seriously. Lincoln. Which one, curious. Zenobia. I want a baby with you, blushing. Lincoln was very surprised that Zenobia was asking for that. Lincoln. Wait, what did you say, confused. Zenobia takes him into a warehouse where she closes the door. Zenobia. Lincoln, ever since you saved me from Gabriel, I've wanted to ask you this. I know we met a few days ago, I know what you had to go through. Those bitches abandoned you, seriously. She approaches and crouches in front of Lincoln. Zenobia. Lincoln, I know it wasn't easy for you to overcome that depression you had, but I love you, blushing. She takes him by the cheeks and gives him a kiss on the lips. Something I forgot to mention is that by training in the time chamber Lincoln is now 13 years old. The albino blushed a lot, but little by little he began to reciprocate the kiss. After a few minutes they separated due to lack of air. She gets up and prays a little, but her head hurt. Zenobia. Well, let our love begin, blushing. She takes off her bra from her swimsuit, leaving her breasts exposed. Lemon skipped. Zenobia. That's my bunny resting, agitated. Later. The girls who appreciated Lincoln and entered the closet where they found a mess but the albino was sleeping, but there was also Zenobia stroking the albino's head. Urza. What happened here, seriously? Zenobia. I don't know if our baby will be a boy or a girl, stroking her belly. Urza. You took away what belongs to me, annoyed. The comical fight later. Later at Issei's house. He received a visit from Stella, but Grayfia would stay at Lincoln's house. Stella falls asleep with Issei where he is and tells him some things. Stella. Tomorrow will be the punishment of Rias and her entourage for what they did to her, serious. Issei. He deserves it, seriously. Stella. Issei-kun, I have to tell you something, blushing. Issei. What do you want to tell me? Curious. But instead of an answer he received a kiss on the lips from Stella. Stella. Issei-kun, I've had feelings for you for a long time. I don't know why Rias preferred that garbage razor. You're not useless like she said about you, blushing. Issei. I love you too, but Sona and I are already a couple, blushing. Stella. I know that, but I know very well that you will have more than one girl, blushing. Stella kissed Issei again, and he gladly accepted the Mayu's kiss. Now we will know what punishment Rias and her entourage will face. See it in the next chapter. Chapter 8. The punishment of the Gremory entourage. It was a new day in the city of Kuoh, and we are in the Bulsirian residence where we see Lincoln wake up, but he felt an extra weight, and when he woke up he saw something that made him blush a lot. It was Grayfia Lucifer, Stella's queen, completely naked and on top of him, her breasts were in Lincoln's face. Lincoln tried to wake her up, but nothing happened, it was as if he was a deep sleeper. But Grayfia, asleep, grabs him and brings Lincoln's face to her breasts and puts his mouth on her nipple. Lincoln didn't know what to do and started sucking on Grayfia's left breast nipple. The Lucifer began to moan and felt that her nipple was being sucked and she slowly began to wake up and saw how the albino sucked her nipple. Grayfia. He's a little daredevil, but he's my little daredevil, I see he suffered a lot and deserves something. She held him closer to her breast so he would continue sucking, but after a while Lincoln let go of Grayfia's nipple and he saw that she was already awake. Lincoln. Oh Grayfia, nervous. Grayfia. Linky, pretending to be sleepy. Lincoln. Sorry if I sucked your breast, it's because you weren't waking up, blushing. Grayfia just giggled. Grayfia. Don't worry, I don't mind, you can suck my breasts whenever you want, flirty. Lincoln. You better get dressed before my younger sisters see you like this. I don't want them to be traumatized, sadly. Grayfia gets up and went to the bathroom to bathe where after a while she came out and got dressed. Lincoln went to take a bath and in a few minutes he finished bathing where he then got dressed. They all went to breakfast and when they finished they went to the academy where they ran into Issei and Stella and the Sitri clan. Lincoln. Good morning, smiling. Issei. Good morning as you woke up, smiling. Lincoln. Fine, although I could barely sleep because someone was screaming like a little girl, looking at Urza. It turned out that Urza had caused a stir since Zenobia took Lincoln's virginity when Urza wanted to do it first. Then they entered the academy where it was parents' day, but Issei was sad because if Razor hadn't killed his parents they would be here. But Irene went to the room where Lincoln was because that day they would make some clay sculptures. Issei didn't know what sculpture to make and was depressed, but at that moment Stella came in. Stella. Here is Issei Hyoudou, curious. Teacher. Yes, because you are curious. Stella. I'm Stella Gremory, serious. Obviously I wasn't going to use the last name Lucifer. Teacher. What relationship do you have with Rias Gremory? Curious. Stella. She's my younger sister, seriously. Teacher. And why are you here, what relationship do you have with Hyoudou, curious. Stella. He's my fiancé, blushing. This shocked everyone. Issei the perverted beast had a beautiful fiancé and was Ria's older sister. But Kratos and Murayama were full of jealousy because even though they had already forgiven Issei, they wanted to be with him. Issei would start making his sculpture where in the end he made a sculpture of Stella naked. This shocked everyone, but then they see that Lincoln had already made a sculpture, but of a dinosaur. Lincoln. I based it on the Quetzalcoatlus from Jurassic World Dominion, smiling. Afterwards many tried to buy the figures, but both politely refused. When they left they heard a commotion and went to the academy gym where Serafal, Sona's older sister, was. Saji led the boys away from the gym, but at that moment Serafal approached Lincoln. Serafal. Oh Linky, how did it go for you? Smiling. Lincoln. All good because, smiling. Serafal. It's because I care about you, pouting. Lincoln. Don't worry, I'll worry about you too, smiling. After that Stella calls Issei where Stella's parents and Rias Zeodicus and Venelana then appear. Stella. Issei Lincoln, these are my parents Zeodicus and Venelana Gremory, smiling. Zeodicus and his wife approached Issei where they both bowed to Issei. Venelana. Issei, please, we are very sorry for what our daughter did to you, sadly. Zeodicus. Seriously, we're sorry, we didn't know what she did to you, don't hate us, sadly. Issei just let out a sigh and started talking. Issei. Calm down, nothing's wrong, I have nothing against you, you have nothing to do with what Rias did to me, smiling. They both stood up and after that Issei spoke again. Issei. But what brings you here? Curious. Zeodicus. We came to tell you about the punishment of Rias and her entourage, seriously. Venelana. You have to go, sadly. Issei. Okay, seriously. But at that moment the couple approaches Lincoln since Stella told her parents Lincoln's story. But at that moment Venezuelan surprisingly hugs the albino. Venelana. I'm so sorry for what you suffered. You're a child who suffered things you didn't deserve, sad. Lincoln felt a maternal warmth so he shed tears and hugged Venezuelan. Zeodicus saw this but saw that Venelana hugged Lincoln as if he were her son. Zeodicus. He deserves the affection that was taken from him. He may have powers to extract and acquire it, but he's only 13 years old, seriously. This one joins the hug to cheer up the albino a little. After that hug, everyone went to the underworld through a magic circle to carry out the trial against Rias and her entourage. In a courtroom. There are the matriarchs and patriarchs of the clans, and there were also the Mass Stella, Serafal, Ajuka and Falbium as leaders of the underworld. The plaintiffs were Issei, Sona and her entourage, Lincoln and Urza. Among the accused were Rias and her entourage, but with chains that cancel powers to prevent them from escaping. Stella. We are gathered here to conduct the trial against Rias and her entourage, but before we begin, there are questions, seriously. The leaders of the Phoenix clan stood up. Lady Phoenix. I want to know why they killed our son Razor, sad. Stella. First, Issei should take the stand, seriously. Issei would go to the stand to start speaking. Issei. You see the reason I killed Razor is because he killed my parents, seriously. No one could believe that Razor had killed people. Issei. Maybe you don't believe me, but what I say is true and I have the recording of the day I killed him, seriously. This one would take out a camera where it produces a video. It turns out there was a hidden security camera. In the video. There were Issei's parents where Razor would later enter and with a chain he grabs Issei's parents. Razor. This is satisfying, evil voice. He grabs Issei's father where he uses his fire power to burn Issei's father's back. Goru. Enough please, screaming in pain. But Razor didn't stop and continued burning Goru's back and then Razor grabs him and removes his chains and then throws his fire powers at Goru where he burns dying in the worst way and with a frozen expression of horror. Vicky grabs a knife and stabs Razor causing him to scream in pain and then removes the knife and regenerates his wound. Razor. You'll see damn it, annoyed. At that moment, Razor hits Mickey, throwing her to the ground where he then destroys her clothes and begins to grape her. She asked him to stop but he didn't listen to her and then he did the same thing to her as he did to Goru, burning to death with a frozen expression of horror. Razor left smiling and without any regrets about what he had done. End of video. No one could believe it. Razor killed innocent people and raped Issei's mother. Ajuka checks it to see if it's real or not and when he had the results. Ajuka, it's real, it's not edited or manipulated, seriously. Everyone knew that Ajuka never lies and the Phoenix patriarchs now only felt disgust for what Razor did. Stella. Also, Saji said that he detected Phoenix magic since Razor didn't hide his powers when he committed the crime, seriously. Issei. And not only that, I understood that Rias never loved me or cared about me, seriously. Rias. That's a lie Issei, I do love you, crying. Issei. If you loved me then why did you let the fallen angels kill me, serious. Stella. Wait, what are you talking about, confused. Issei. You see, leaders of the demons and patriarchs of the clans, you see in Kuoh there were fallen angels and renegade demons killing people, and my first girlfriend was actually a fallen angel named Rainer and Rias waited for her to kill me to join her entourage, seriously. Everyone was shocked to hear this revelation. Rias waited for Issei to be killed so she could reincarnate him. Issei. In conclusion, she reincarnated me without consulting me or my acceptance, seriously. Stella. Rias, how could you do those things, annoyed. Issei. And not only that, the day I fought against Razor again I had given my arm to access the balance breaker, seriously. That was another surprise, but to make them believe him Issei removes the magic from his arm, revealing that his arm was scaly like a reptile. But Rias was a different story since Issei had sacrificed his left arm to save her, and she paid him back in the worst way. After Issei, the others presented evidence against Rias where there was one that was Rias' worst mistake. It turns out that on the day of the rating game she put seals to take power away from Issei and give it to Razor, and also that the rating game was rigged so that Razor would win. Now Rias would have no forgiveness from anyone where they later reached the verdict. Stella. Rias' Gremory for reincarnating Issei without his consent, cheating in the rating game, sealing Issei's powers without his permission, and torturing him in the worst way. You will not be executed, since you are not worth it, you will be demoted to a low-class devil just like your pieces, seriously. Rias collapsed, now she was a low-class demon, and began to cry as did her entourage. Venelana. Also Rias, you are no longer the heir of the Gremory clan, the new heir will be your sister Sarah, seriously. You may wonder who Sarah is, well she is Rias' twin, but she has a great resemblance to Venelana, as if she were a younger version of Venelana. Sarah's appearance. Sirzechs. And you and your entourage are banished from the Gremory clan and are prohibited from entering our clan, seriously. Stella. And you are also banished from the underworld and you are forbidden to go there, and if you re-enter without permission, you will be locked up along with your entourage in Tartarus, seriously. Rias was now exiled from her clan and could not enter the underworld. After that the trial ends where Rias and her entourage went to the human world where they would now pay the consequences of their actions. After that Issei and his friends and loved ones returned to the human world since they had classes the next day. Chapter 9. The Vampire Girl. Previously Rias and her entourage received the punishment they so deserved, and now Rias was no longer the heir of the Gremory clan, but her twin sister Sarah, who is just like her only with her mother's hair and eyes. Although Sarah noticed Lincoln because she thought he was cute because of how he was, her parents told her about what happened to him. Sarah wanted to kill the bitches who hurt Lincoln, but she knew that sooner or later they would suffer for their actions. Present. Lincoln was walking, but in that he feels a great power where he would see a girl with a good body and white hair like him, but she had it long. Hello cute, flirty. Lincoln. Wait, who are you? Wait a minute, you're the girl in the white armor, surprised. That's right, cute, and my name is Valerie, smiling. Lincoln. You carry the white dragon, surprised. Valerie. Yes, and you're the one who killed Gabriel, flirty. Lincoln. Wait, how do you know, surprised. Valerie. You have the same energy as the being with blue crystals in his body, flirtatious. Lincoln. That is my power and in that form they call me extroyer and my name is Lincoln Winter, smiling. Valerie. Well the reason I was sent was because of Alice, the leader of the fallen angels, seriously. Lincoln. Who is she, confused. Valerie. Well, she's the leader of the fallen angels, but now she has to mind her own business, seriously. Ice. Issei was in front of the leader of the fallen angels Alice. Alice. Issei-kun surprises you, flirty. Issei. I saw it coming Alice-chan, but now you know what happened with Gabriel, seriously. Alice. Valerie told me that he was killed by that Lincoln boy since she saw how he killed Gabriel, seriously. Issei. Okay, but now I understand that there will be a meeting of the faction leaders, seriously. Alice. That's right, and you and your little friend should go to know more about you, seriously. Issei. See you, I have to go now, serious. Issei was going to leave, but Alice stops him. Alice. Not cute yet, flirty. She grabs him by the cheeks and kisses him on the lips, making Issei blush, but at that moment the door is knocked down by Sona. Sona. How dare you kiss my boyfriend, annoyed. Alice. You're his girlfriend please I'm Predator, mockingly. Both fight against Issei where after everything calmed down Issei went to a place and suddenly saw a beautiful woman with golden hair and beautiful eyes. Issei detected her energy and it was pure goodness and it was from an archangel. Issei. And who are you? Curious. Where are my manners? I'm Michelle and I'm the leader of the angels in heaven, smiling. Issei. Wow you are very beautiful, smiling. The archangel blushes at the compliment she had received. Michelle. Oh thanks for the compliment and I'm curious about you, blushing. Issei and she went to the Hyoudou residence where he tells the archangel everything about Rias' betrayal and how he became Elementor. Michelle was horrified by what Issei had to go through, but at the same time she was angry, but she calmed down when she heard that Rias and her entourage were paying for their actions against Issei. Michelle. I'm sorry about your parents and by the way I came to give you this, smiling. This summons a sword for Issei which was as follows. Michelle. You see, Issei-kun, this is the Ascalon sword. It will be useful for fighting enemies, smiling. Issei. I don't know if I should accept this since it's a lot, sad. Michelle. Please accept it, Issei-kun, with a puppy dog look. Issei sighed in defeat and then spoke. Issei. Okay, blushing. After that we go to Issei with Lincoln, both were playing video games, but in the end Lincoln won. Issei. How are you so good at this, seriously? Lincoln. I have a lot of experience, smiling. But at that moment Stella appears and started talking. Stella. Issei, I have to tell you something, seriously. Issei. What's up, curious? Stella. You see, Rias has another bishop since she didn't tell you that, but don't worry, that bishop has nothing to do with it, seriously. Lincoln. Wow, that period hair has secrets, seriously. After that they went to the occult club where the other bishop of Rias was. It should be noted that when Rias received her punishment, the occult club was taken away from her, and now Issei is the owner of the occult club. Stella removes the seals from the room where they entered, a room where there was something like a box. But the box is opened where you see a girl with short blonde hair and red eyes. Stella. Hello Anna, smiling. The now identified as Anna would speak. Anna. Stella-chan, the outside is scary, scared. Stella. We need you to train so you can master your sacred gear, smiling. Anna. No, I don't want to, scared. Stella. This is going to be complicated, seriously. Then they try to make Anna stop being afraid, but they don't do it well. Lincoln saw that they were doing it wrong. Lincoln. Don't you see that you're scaring her, more fools, annoyed. They get scared because angry Lincoln was super scary. Lincoln. I'll take care of this, seriously. This one would enter the room where Anna was hiding in her box. Lincoln. Hey Anna, smiling. The girl looked at the albino with surprise. Anna. Who are you, shy? Lincoln. Lincoln Winter, you'll see, Anna, I know what it's like to be afraid, calmly. Anna. Wait, what are you talking about, curious? Lincoln. You see Anna, I used to be a big scaredy cat like you, since I was scared of many things, remembering how scared I was. Anna. Wait, but now I see that you're not afraid, shy. Lincoln. It's just that with the passage of time I left my fears behind. Look Anna, I know you're afraid of using your sacred gear, I don't blame you, but Anna, being brave doesn't mean not being afraid, it means being afraid and doing it anyway, I can help you control it and not hurt someone, smiling. Anna. Wait, would you do that for me, shy? Lincoln. Yes, Anna, I'll help you, smiling. She shed tears of happiness and hugged Lincoln, and he accepted the hug. Anna would leave, but would take Lincoln's hand since she was still shy. They enter the time room where Lincoln shows his extroyer form, scaring Anna a little. Extroyer? You see Anna, this is my power, it is used to extract and acquire powers from my targets, seriously. This returns to its normal form where it helps Anna to control a little the sacred gear that she is holding. Lincoln, thanks to the power of the Morphous crystals, Anna's power to freeze time does not affect him. After that Lincoln and Anna left the room where they then. Anna. Thanks Linky, blushing. The blonde uses her power to freeze time on others and then steals a tender kiss on the lips from the albino, who reciprocates. Now Anna is part of Sona's entourage. See it in the next chapter. Chapter 10. Wishing Crystal. Previously, Lincoln helped Anna with her sacred gear, where the vampire girl decided to live with Lincoln, where things at the Bulsirian residence were somewhat comical. Sometimes the girls fought over Lincoln, but he didn't get involved because he knew he shouldn't get involved in a girl fight. But if Lincoln was with his little sisters, he would keep them away from the fights so they wouldn't hear things they shouldn't, otherwise they would be traumatized. But Issei, he finds out that the faction leaders would hold a meeting at the academy to discuss the issues that occurred with Gabriel and the powers of Issei and Lincoln. Present. Issei was in his lightning Elementor form. Elementor. Now I'm used to this power, it's good that I took this power away from that silly Akeno, smiling, showing his teeth. Elementor continued training until he finally finished and detransformed. Issei. Now I must go home. Sona-chan said she had a surprise, smiling. He would return to the house, but he was very surprised to see that his house was now a mansion and rather looked like a castle. Issei. So Sona-chan, surprised. Sona would leave the mansion since she detected that Issei had returned. Sona. You see, Issei-kun, this is your gift for everything you did for me and because you saved me from being killed by Razor, blushing. Issei. This is amazing, this place is amazing, smiling. Sona approached Issei and kissed him on the lips where Issei would now have a much bigger house. Gremory mansion. We see Zeodicus and Venelana talking, but there was something on her mind. Zeodicus. Dear, what's up? Curious. Venelana. Dear, I haven't stopped thinking about Issei's little friend, seriously. Zeodicus. Because you say so, curious. Venelana. He suffered from a superstition that left him with horrible scars. Look, I got these photos, showing his phone. She shows photos of Lincoln's scars. But there was a big one that was a straight line from his chest to his abdomen. Zeodicus was quite horrified at what they did to a child for such a ridiculous superstition. Venelana. It's horrible, right? They almost killed him, and that scar stayed there, horrified. Zeodicus. I was able to see through some spies that after escaping he changed his last name, but I saw the romantic betrayals, seriously. This shows the ex-girlfriends, but he had recorded the moments when they abandoned him. Venelana. How dare they do such a thing? He is everything they want and they abandon him, annoyed. Zeodicus. That's what I said, but at least Sarah is nice to him. But I have something, seriously. Venelana. What a thing, dear, curious. Zeodicus. Let Lincoln be our son, but adopted so Sarah can marry him, smiling. Irene is not Lincoln's adoptive mother, she only takes care of him so he is not alone, just like Lisa and Lily. Venelana. Seriously, I always wanted a boy, but Stella and Sarah and you know who were just girls, sad. Zeodicus. Except that years ago we were going to have a boy, but unfortunately we lost him, sad. Venelana only shed tears. Many years ago she was going to have a baby boy, but unfortunately he died because his vital organs did not develop. In addition, Venelana became sterile because her reproductive organs were damaged, leaving her sterile. Venelana. Sometimes I would like to have my baby in my arms, but he died. I hope Lincoln fills the void in my mother's heart, sad. Zeodicus didn't want to see her like that. Every time they mention her deceased baby, she bursts into tears remembering that tragedy. Zeodicus. I hope Lincoln fills the void left by our deceased baby. He went to calm his wife down, since he didn't want to see her like that. Con Lincoln. He was investigating some ruins in Africa, more specifically in Kenya. He arrives at an ancient temple where he sees that no one has been here in hundreds of years. Lincoln. Now to look for something interesting, seriously. He was walking, but then he stepped into a trap, but he moved away as arrows started to come out. He used his speed power to dodge the arrows. Then he continued on his way until he saw something that looked like mummies. If you played Uncharted 4 you should already know about the exploding mummy trap. When this one approaches, the mummies catch fire, but this one moves away so that the mummies explode. But then he would pull out a firearm. This turns on the flashlight to illuminate the path. This continued, but the road ends and a void falls. But he uses his suit's propellants to avoid a fall. This one reaches the deepest part of the temple, but at that moment he finds several paths, but he enters one. But it was just a dead end. He walks on another path, but as he walks he sees a bottomless pit. Lincoln. Another wrong way, seriously. This enters the third path, but as you walk you find a long passageway. He guided himself with the light of the weapon but found a gate, but it was locked. Lincoln shoots the lock, destroying it and opening the gate. This one saw light at the end where later he came out seeing that he was in a large room of a temple. Lincoln. Wow, so this is a big room, surprised. But in that he would see a room with a stone throne, but in front there was a large altar with a chest. This one would see the closed chest where he opens it and would see something that looked like a crystal sphere. Lincoln found some writing nearby, but managed to understand what it said. Lincoln. Wish sphere, only think of the wish, only those who are worthy can make a wish, seriously. He was going to grab it but stopped. The reason is that he saw that if he removed it, a trap would be activated, since something must be putting weight on the area where the crystal is. Lincoln found something and quickly takes the sphere where he then puts a rock so that the trap does not activate. But he puts the crystal in his backpack and leaves with the jets, since there was a hole in the roof. This opens a portal where he returns to Kuoh where he then arrives at Issei's house. A little while later. Issei was checking the sphere that Lincoln brought where he would later speak. Issei. So you're saying that it grants any wish, curious. Issei found out through Alice that Rainer always loved him, but Gabriel used a mind control spell to control her. Issei. I should revive Rainer. I didn't kill her, her period hair did, seriously. He takes the sphere where he then makes his wish, but in his mind since he knew he shouldn't ask for it out loud. Then a girl appears out of nowhere, it was Rainer. Rainer? Where am I, surprised. Issei. Rainer, surprised. The girl turns around and when she sees Issei she throws herself at him. Rainer. Issei-kun, I'm sorry for attacking you on our first date. It's all Gabriel's fault. He used me for his plans, crying. Issei. Don't forgive me for attacking you, I didn't know you were controlled by Gabriel, sad. Rainer. Oh Issei-kun, I always loved you, but that damn Gabriel, sad. Issei cupped Rainer's cheeks and kissed her on the lips. The fallen angel blushes at this but accepts the kiss. After a few minutes the two separate due to lack of air. Rainer, Issei won the Little Mermaid. Issei. Sorry for being an idiot, but now I won't make the same mistakes, blushing. Rainer. I forgive you my love, but now what happened, curious. Issei tells him everything that happened since he lost the rating game against Razor until his new powers. Rainer was shocked by this but understood perfectly. Now Rainer was alive, but what they didn't know was that Kaneko was spying on them from the window. See it in the next chapter. Chapter 11 Meeting of the Factions. Previously Lincoln found a crystal that grants wishes and Issei asked for it where he revived Rainer and found out that she always loved him, but a certain tower of Rias saw everything where he is. Later he went to warn Rias of what he saw. Present. Issei was on a date with Rainer where he took her to fun places where she had fun as well as Issei, where later they went to the movies to see the Gran Turismo movie. When the movie ended, Issei left with Rainer, but in the distance they were watched by Kaneko. House of Esuaries. Since she was banished from the Gremory clan, she has lost everything she loved, her family, her inheritance, and her loved ones, all because of her selfishness and greed. Rias only lamented and fell in love with a bastard who only used her and tortured Issei. Rias. It's all my fault, crying. But at that moment there is a knock on the door where Kaneko enters. Rias. Kaneko, what's up, confused. Kaneko. It's Rainer, she's back and she's with Issei senpai, would be. Rias. How is it possible if I killed her, surprised. Kaneko. I don't know but somehow she revived, it would be. Rias. You'll see, that damn girl isn't going to take away what's mine, annoyed. Then they planned how to kill Rainer without knowing the consequences. Pawn Lincoln. He was flying with his suit's propellants, but then he detected a presence. Lincoln. Because I detect an angelic energy, seriously. But he continued flying until he managed to land, but a girl with blonde hair and blue eyes appeared with a beautiful face and a beautiful blue butterfly ornament that decorated her hair. Lincoln. Hi, you're pretty, smiling. Thanks, who are you? Looking at Lincoln. This opens the helmet where the blonde saw the albino's face where she blushes, seeing that he was cute. You're cute, my name is Gabriel, what is yours, curious. Lincoln Winter sonriendo. Gabriel. How did you get that suit? Curious. Lincoln. My sister did it, smiling. Gabriel. I must admit it's great, smiling. Lincoln. And that beautiful archangel brings her, smiling. Gabriel. Wait, how do you know, surprised. Lincoln. It's simple since I'm an extroyer, seriously. This becomes an extroyer, leaving Gabriel surprised and frightened. But this one returned to normal. Lincoln. I won't hurt you, don't worry, I'm not one of those people, smiling. Gabriel read his heart and saw that it was not evil, but he detected several emotions. Sadness, disappointment and betrayal. She was able to see his memories and saw everything that happened to him from when he was blamed for bad luck until he arrived at Kuoh. Gabriel saw the betrayals that Lincoln had gone through and felt very sad, and at the same time he will go. Anger because he wanted to kill the foxes who abandoned him because of a ridiculous superstition. Sadness of how he was betrayed by an athlete who did not accept defeat. Lincoln. Gabriel, do you want to eat something? Smiling. Gabriel. I would love to, smiling. Both went to eat at a cafeteria where Lincoln got to know Gabriel better, but they knew that at night was the meeting of the factions since after what happened with Gabriel, the meeting of the factions was planned. Later. The faction meeting was taking place, but from a distance Rias and her group saw everything since they were banished from the Gremory clan and were forbidden to go to the meeting, but Rias wanted to kill Rainer. At the meeting. On behalf of the angels were Michelle and her younger sister Gabriel, but Irina was accompanying them. On the side of the fallen were Alice, Valerie and the Penemu cadre. On the side of the demons were Stella, Seraphol, the Sitri clan and the Gremory clan, but led by Sarah. But the guests were Issei, Lincoln, Urza and Irene. Stella. You know why we're here, right? It would be. Alice. I'll just say that Gabriel was acting behind my back, but I didn't know what he was planning, it would be. Michelle. You almost let him cause a war, it would be. Issei. Alice is right, you should have been more alert, seriously. Stella. Let's see, the new powers that you have, Issei, and also your friend, also happened, it would be. Issei. Mine allows me to extract elements and turn into them and use them as an attack, seriously. Lincoln. Mine is to extract the genetic code or power of my target and make it mine, seriously. Stella. She's right since Sona claimed to see that he copied the powers of the destruction of Rias and Gabriel's spear of light, serious. Issei. I can do that now since I absorbed morpho crystals, seriously. Michelle. Morphous crystals, confused. Issei. I'll explain it to you later, seriously. After that the meeting goes like in the anime until they ask him what he prefers, Issei and Valerie. Michelle. White Empress who prefers peace or war, curious. Valerie. As long as I can fight with strong beings, I choose peace, smiling. Michelle. Red Emperor. Peace or war, curious. Issei. Obviously peace, serious. At that time stops but Issei took Sona by the hand where they later see that some froze. Alice. Apparently the vampire's sacred gear was activated and time froze, it would be. Stella. But why didn't everyone freeze? Confused. Alice. That's because of our power level, Irina and Zenobia because of their swords, Issei and Valerie because of their dragons and Sarah because her power is enormous and Lincoln because he has many powers, Urza because of her powers and Irene because she is a high-ranking dragon, it would be. Then they see how some magicians appear and began to attack the academy where Valerie then went after them. Lincoln went to save Anna where he saw the magicians who were holding Anna hostage. Lincoln. Anna, you are not a monster, how are you? Bitches tell you that you are special to me, but I must give you power, seriously. He pulls his sword out of his suit. Then a cut is made where drops of blood fall on Anna and when she tastes the blood her vampire power is activated and she turns into bats and attacks the magicians. Then Lincoln with an attack of destruction finishes them off. Then Kateria Leviathan, the descendant of the original Mao Leviathan, appears. Issei fights against her where later Valerie attacks him, but he dodges her. How in the end Valerie reveals that she is the great-granddaughter of the original Lucifer, where everyone was surprised but not Lincoln, since he already knew it. Lincoln. I'm not surprised you reported the meeting, but if you want to fight, you'll do it with me, seriously. This turns into an extroyer where Valerie watches what is going to happen. Extroyer. Let the fun begin, mocking. So Valerie uses his armor to fight against Lincoln, but he put up quite a fight. They both clashed fists and kicks where she then tries to divide their power, but realizes something. Extroyer. That technique doesn't do anything to me, you'll see what I'm capable of, mockingly. At that extroyer puts his hand on Valerie's stomach and says. Extroyer. Extract and acquire, serious. At that moment Valerie feels that something has been taken away from her and she becomes weak for a moment. Valerie. What just happened would be. But that's what the white dragon would speak from a gem. Alba. Comrade, be careful, I felt like they took away some of my power and my genetic code and I felt like they took away some of your armor, scared. But then Extroyer becomes Lincoln again and then he screams and when everything becomes clear now Lincoln had armor like Valerie's, but this one was blue. Lincoln. Now you can say that I have more than one sacred gear as a power because I also extracted part of Saji's sacred gear, smiling. This one now launched itself against Valerie since she was weak from the extract and acquire where Lincoln was giving her a great fight until with a single attack, he destroyed Valerie's armor. She tries to use it again but couldn't do it. Alba. Comrade, I don't recommend you keep fighting, he's at another level, it would be. Valerie was surprised she was defeated by Lincoln, but her gaze became somewhat lustful. Valerie. Now you are my husband, Linky, seductive. All. What the hell? Issei arrived with a defeated Kateria where he then approaches Lincoln. Lincoln. Wait, what are you talking about like I'm your husband? Confused. Breg would speak from the gem of Issei's gauntlet. Breg. I forgot to say that if a male, regardless of his species, defeats a dragon, she becomes his mate, seriously. Valerie approaches and takes Lincoln by the cheeks and gives him a kiss on the lips. After that the barrier breaks where a girl with armor and a monkey tail comes out. It was about Beth, a yokai monkey descendant of the Monkey King. Beth. I see you were defeated Valerie, it would be. Valerie. Yes, and it was because of that bunny, pointing at Lincoln. Beth saw Lincoln and couldn't help but blush. Beth. I must admit he is an adorable bunny, he must be mine. Afterwards Beth and Valerie leave where the alliance is signed and everyone returns to their homes. Chapter 12. Karma and the Loud's arrest. After the faction meeting everyone returned to their homes, but now Issei and Lincoln had to go to the meeting of young demons that would be in the underworld. Also that Valerie was a Lucifer, but Lincoln already knew that. And that Issei won several new partners, but he doesn't know it. Present. Issei was in his Elementor form training with Lincoln Extroyer, where both were training with their best forms. But in that Extroyer shows a tiger shape, but this one had the following design, but only had crystals on the right paw. Extroyer. I must admit I like this tiger shape, seriously. Elementor was in his Morphosos mode where both had a fairly even fight. After training, both transform, returning to their human forms. Issei. Now that we have allies, what are we going to do? Curious. Lincoln. I don't know, seriously. They were called to eat where they later went to eat at Issei's house. Bulsirian residence. Lisa was on the computer where she takes out a memory stick and puts it where the videos of Lincoln suffering because of the Louds come out later. Lisa. My brother deserves justice, oh goodbye monsters that I once called family, it would be. She publishes the videos where she would then wait to see what would happen. But the protagonists. They were eating, and after that Issei went on a date with Seekvaira. This made the girls in love with Issei jealous. At that Lincoln activates his suit since he had to go out for a while, and the helmet covers his face. This one jumps and starts flying with the propellers. He continued flying and then visited several places, but then he felt a familiar presence. This lands and the helmet comes apart where he then explores the place. But then a woman approaches and he recognizes her as the same one he saved from falling into the lava when he obtained the crystals. But then she hugs him. Lincoln didn't expect that, but he accepted the hug. He was a little shorter than her and was between her breasts. Halwarner. I thought you were dead, I couldn't thank you for saving me, sobbing. Lincoln. I don't know your name, pretty, blushing. Halwarner. My name is Calwarner, I'm sorry for attacking you in the past, sad. Lincoln. Don't worry, why did you come here? Curious. Halwarner. I came for you since I heard about what you had to go through, sad. Lincoln. Wait, how do you know, confused. Halwarner. Some videos were posted, but I'm sorry for everything you had to go through, sorry. Even though Lincoln was getting over it, it still affected him, she continued to hug him. Halwarner felt very sad, she didn't want to see him like that, but then an idea came to her. And that he grabs the shirt and a breast where she then had her left breast exposed. Halwarner took Lincoln's head and placed it on her left breast. She placed her nipple in the albino's mouth. Halwarner. Time for you to eat my bunny, blushing. Lincoln began to suck Halwarner's left breast. The blue-haired girl held him to her breast. She felt Lincoln sucking her nipple, but she liked it. Halwarner let out small moans, but then she realized something and felt something liquid come out of her chest. Halwarner separates Lincoln for a moment and realizes that she is breastfeeding. The fallen angel didn't understand, but remembered that some supernatural women can breastfeed without pregnancy. She attached Lincoln to her breast again where she then gave Lincoln milk. Halwarner. My bunny likes my breast milk. You are my cute bunny and baby, blushing. She continued giving milk to Lincoln where the albino liked the milk of the fallen angel. Lincoln, she has rich milk. Halwarner. Don't bite so much, there's a lot of milk just for you, blushing. After that Lincoln left the blue-haired girl's chest where after that she gives him a kiss on the lips. Lincoln doesn't care if his mouth tastes like milk. Halwarner. You're better, smiling. Lincoln. Why did you do that? Curious. Halwarner. Because I love you, even though we fought in the past, you didn't intend to kill me, and I've known you for a few years, blushing. Lincoln. Wait, you're Sheila, surprised. Halwarner. Yes, you and I met when you were little. I played with you, but I had to leave because that damn Gabriel threatened me, but my real name is Calwarner and I used the name Sheila to avoid attracting attention. I've loved you since we met, I just didn't remember you when we fought, sad. Lincoln. I see this, I didn't expect it, you are the young woman who was with me when I was little, surprised. They both kiss again, but Lincoln kisses her with all the love he had. It's not forced since they already knew each other but didn't remember. Now we are located in Royal Woods where the Loud family was going to their activities, but they don't know what awaits them. With Lori. Lori was happy because she had a date with Bobby where she then arrived at the park but saw Bobby with Ronnie Ann. Lori. Hello Boop Boop Bear, smiling. Bobby turned around and had a sour look on his face. Bobby. Can you explain it to me, seriously? Lori. Wait, what are you talking about Boop Boop Bear, confused. Bobby. Because you abused your brother, annoyed. Lori. Wait, what are you saying? I don't know what you're talking about, nervous. Ronnie Ann. We're talking about this, showing her phone. On Ronnie Ann's phone, there is a video of Lori hitting Lincoln with golf clubs until he bleeds. Bobby. After seeing this, I don't even want to imagine what you would do if we had children. You would blame them for your mistakes, seriously. Lori. Boo Boo Bear, yo, she is interrupted. Bobby. I'm Roberto for you and we're over, annoyed. Ronnie Ann punches Lori in the face. Ronnie Ann. That's what you get for being a bitch, annoyed. Ronnie Ann left with Bobby where Lori then cries inconsolably because her boyfriend had broken up with her, but then she receives a call saying that she was rejected by Fairway College. Lori. No, crying. She kept crying, she lost everything, her boyfriend left her, and she lost her chance to be a professional golfer. With Leni. She was walking happily to her job at the mall in the clothing store, but when she arrived she saw her friends Miguel and Fiona, but they were not very happy to say the least. Leni. Hello friends who count, smiling. Miguel. Shut up you brother abusers, annoyed. Leni. What are you talking about, nervous. Fiona. We're talking about this, dumbhead, showing her phone. On Fiona's phone you can see a video of Leni sticking needles into Lincoln when he wanted to take off his squirrel suit, she would stick them in him in a wild way. Leni. Yo, get slapped by her friends Jackie and Mandy. Jackie. You are a horrible monster, annoyed. Mandy. Our friendship is over, annoyed. Leni gets slapped several times by her former school friends. Fiona. Also, Mrs. Carmichael said you're fired because she doesn't want a monster like you working in the store, cold. Leni's ex-friends leave her alone because they didn't want to see her. Leni cried inconsolably, not only did she lose her friends, but she was also fired from her job. But it wasn't just Laurie and Leni who had a horrible time, it also happened to the other sisters. Luna was kicked out of the band, and Sam revealed to her that she's not a lesbian and beat her up. Lewin is expelled from the drama club, and they find out how she is a monster when April Fool's Day arrives, and Benny also broke up with her. Lynn was kicked off the sports teams because they found out what Lynn did to Lincoln, and she also had anger issues and unsportsmanlike behavior, and her teammates were fed up with her attitude, and she was also banned because they don't accept bad losers. Linka and Liberty have nothing to do with each other since they went to an art and photography camp, I forgot to say that. Lucy is expelled from the funeral club, and it is also revealed that she likes to read Princess Pony, and she also almost kills Lincoln on more than one occasion. Lana was expelled from the mechanics club, and some officers took her animals to be adopted by better people who do treat animals well. Lola was expelled from the beauty pageants, and Lindsay, one of her rivals, revealed Lola's secret, which is that she extorts the contestants and bribes the judges. Lynn Sr. had his restaurant close because many people tell him he's a horrible father and the worst scum, and it's not worth eating there. Rita was fired from her job as a writer because they don't accept mothers who abuse their children. Later. The Louds were angry while they were in the living room of the house. Lynn. Damn bad luck, it's all your fault, annoyed. Lori. Because of that brat my boyfriend left me, annoyed. Luna. You're right, that albino rat is to blame, and those traitors, annoyed. Rita. When I find that bastard I'll break him into pieces, annoyed. Lynn father. We have to find our amulet all in Trixilla, annoyed. They then leave, but at that moment sirens are heard. At that moment, several police officers arrive to put the house in order. Officer. Loud family is under arrest for child abuse, extortion, and attempted murder, pulling out handcuffs. Then the police arrested the Louds, but Lynn tried to escape but failed and was electrocuted. The police take the Louds away from the Loud house, now the Louds are paying the consequences of their actions. But they weren't the only ones who suffered from karma. Karma also affected their former friends, and they were sent to military school. In Japan. Lincoln was sitting on the couch with Calwarner and Grayfia watching TV, but then the news came on. Newscast. We interrupt this program with an alert in the United States. The Loud family is facing many charges, but not only that. It was also reported that they mistreated their son and brother for allegedly having bad luck. How absurd, not even criminals believe that. The cause of everything, Lynn Loud Jr. There will be a trial to see if they will be imprisoned, seriously. The newscast ends where Lincoln felt a great relief as the people who hurt him are now paying the consequences. Lincoln decided to celebrate in a place where he invited Grayfia and Calwarner. They accepted and got into the Lincoln Continental limousine that Lincoln had. Lincoln. Girls, want to go to the movies, smiling. The two nod their heads, and then Lincoln takes off and they leave the Bulsirian residence. Now the Louds are finished and will be locked up in prison. What will happen? See it in the next chapter. Chapter 13 The Judgment. Previously the Louds were discovered by the authorities where they were then arrested for their crimes against Lincoln, and a trial is awaited. Present. We are in the Bulsirian residence where we see Lincoln asleep while sucking Calwarner's breasts and drinking the milk of the fallen angel. Calwarner was the first to wake up and after that she stroked the albino's hair. Calwarner. I see that you like the milk from my breasts, but remember, my bunny, that I'm only yours, blushing. Minutes later Lincoln left the blue-haired girl's breasts and went to take a bath to start the day. Minutes later in the dining room Urza and Irene were waiting for the others to have breakfast. The girls were dressed since they wouldn't be naked in front of Lisa and Lily, or they would be traumatized. Lincoln went for little Lily whereafter that he was with the girls. The girls who live in the house with Lincoln are Momo, Tsubaki, Grayfia, Zenobia, Sarah, Anna and Calwarner. Irene. Good morning Linky, how did you wake up? Smiling. Lincoln. Okay, Irene, I can now be at peace since my ex-family is paying for their crimes, seriously. Irene. Well, how did my little ones Lisa and Lily wake up? Smiling. Lisa. Good, smiling. Lily just raised her thumb since she barely said any words. Hi to residence. Issei was preparing breakfast, but he still missed his parents, but in that Rainer, Sona, Tomo and Tsubasa. Issei. I still miss my parents even though I killed Razor, I still miss them, sad. Sona. Issei-kun, I'm sorry that your parents are no longer by your side, but remember that we will always be together, smiling. Issei. Thanks Sona-chan, smiling slightly. Later. Lincoln had to go in a suit since he found out he had to go to the trial to see if the Louds will be locked up or not. Urza and Irene arrived dressed as follows. Ignore the katana. Lincoln. We must go to the trial, seriously. And that they teleport with Lisa since she must also testify against the Louds. In the United States. We are located in the Supreme Court of Justice. Then you see the jury room where the others would be. Lincoln along with Irene, Urza and Irene along with Lisa were on the plaintiff side. The Louds would enter, but when they saw Lincoln, they looked at him with hatred and Lynn tried to hit him but failed because the police stopped her. The men and women of the jury were waiting for the judge, where a woman would then enter, whom everyone was amazed to see. It was Dr. Polo. Dr. Polo. Hello everyone, I'll be the judge, smiling. At that, Dr. Polo sat in the judge's chair, thus beginning the trial. Dr. Polo. We are gathered here because I learned that there is a case of child abuse towards a young boy, all because of a superstition, it would be. Prosecutor. That's right, Your Honor, this family, pointing to the Louds, mistreated one of their own because of a superstition like bad luck. Seriously, not even drug traffickers believe that, seriously. Dr. Polo. I see, and there are witnesses here who want to speak. Let the first witness come forward, it would be. At that the doors are opened where Lincoln's best friend Clyde came out. Clyde would sit in a place where the prosecutor would then speak to him. Prosecutor. He will tell the truth and only the truth, seriously. Clyde. Well, you see, I've known Lincoln since he was 5 years old and we became best friends, but recently Lincoln was suffering because I found out that his family was torturing him in the worst way since he told me that Lynn blamed him for bad luck just for losing a game, seriously. Prosecutor. How do we know you're not lying? Seriously. Clyde. If I tell the truth because it gives me a stomachache when I lie, seriously. Prosecutor. Okay, continue, seriously. Clyde. Lynn, who is to blame for everything, she made the school believe bad luck and so Lincoln was betrayed by his friends, but I didn't do it, since I don't believe in superstitions I couldn't report them, since I had no evidence of abuse, serious. Prosecutor. I see, you can leave, seriously. Clyde sat elsewhere where the trial then continued. Dr. Polo. How far did a family go for a superstition? Not even in my years as a judge have I seen anything similar and now they call the second witness, it would be. Prosecutor. Let the second witness come forward, seriously. And that would come a person that the Louds recognize was about Haiku. Haiku is the same age as Lincoln. Haiku sat in the witness chair to give his statement. Prosecutor. Tell the truth and only the truth, Miss Haiku, seriously. Haiku. You see, recently my ex-friend Lucy started acting weird because she had strange behaviors, but one day I saw something that bothered me a lot, it was Lucy stabbing Lincoln, but I stopped it, it would be. Flashback. Haiku was putting some things in her locker, but then she heard screams and went to investigate. In that he saw how Lucy stabs Lincoln with a dagger and in that Haiku stops Lucy. Haiku. Lucy, what are you doing, would be. Lucy. It's not obvious to give this bad luck what he deserves, annoyed. Haiku angrily slaps Lucy and takes the dagger from her and throws the dagger in a trash can where Haiku then beats Lucy, leaving her injured on the ground and then Haiku takes Lincoln to the hospital. End of flashback. Haiku. That's what happened and I'm telling the truth, I'm not lying, it would be. Prosecutor. I see you're telling the truth, well you can sit somewhere else, seriously. After that they continued with the trial against the Louds. Dr. Polo. Now past the last witness, it would be. In that, the last witness would come in and it was none other than Margot. Prosecutor. Tell the truth and only the truth, seriously. Margot. You see, for some time now I began to suspect Lynn, and every time we lost she would get very angry as if she were a demon, but when we won she behaves in an arrogant and selfish way, but I hear how she yelled at her brother bad luck the day we lost a baseball game, I thought it was just a fight between siblings, but now I know that Lynn is a true heartless monster and she should not participate in sports anymore since she is a bad loser and shows unsportsmanlike behavior, it would be. Prosecutor. I didn't see that he was lying, so if he's telling the truth, he can leave, seriously. Margot then retired to her seat where the trial was to continue. Dr. Polo. The witnesses have already passed, now show evidence, it would be. The time has come to show the evidence where Lincoln had plenty of evidence as did Lisa. Lincoln. As a first proof I have these scars, seriously. At that point, Lincoln takes off his shirt, showing many scars on his body. The entire audience was horrified by what they saw, but they saw the scar on Lincoln's chest that was the one Lola gave him. Lincoln. These scars are the result of all the abuse my ex-family did to me, seriously. Polo. How horrible, horrified. Lincoln. Not only that, I also have another proof and Lisa can show it to you, seriously. Lisa. Excuse me, can I use the projector? Curious. Polo. Of course it's there, pointing at the projector. And that Lisa uses the projector where you can see everything that the Louds did to Lincoln, from the beatings, torture and insults, and how they cursed him. But they saw how the sisters Laurie, Luna, Lynn and Lola were the most ruthless, since they on more than one occasion left the albino on the brink of death. Many were surprised but at the same time horrified and looked at the Louds with hatred. They thought they were edited videos, but then a computer expert reviews it. Computer expert. They are not edited, they are real, seriously. Lincoln. As last evidence I have this, seriously. And that they show the squirrel suit all battered and dirty. Lincoln. They locked me in that horrible suit to give them good luck. When things went well for them, they didn't attack me, but when things didn't go well for them, they beat me savagely, sad. Polo. Louds, something you want to say, would be. Nobody spoke, everything remained in a deep silence. Dr. Polo. That's what I thought it would be. After a long discussion, Dr. Polo would speak. Polo. The jury reached the verdict, it would be. Mr. Jury. We have made our decision, seriously. Jury wife. We found the Louds would be. Men and women of the jury. Guilty. Dr. Polo. The Loud family declares them guilty of child abuse, extortion, torture and attempted murder against young Lincoln. Rita and Lynn Sr. will be sentenced to 30 years in prison. Laurie, Leanie and Luna Lou, being of legal age, will be sentenced to 25 years in prison. Lewin, Lucy, Lana and Lola will be sentenced to juvenile correctional facilities, and when they come of age, they will go to prison for 20 years. As for Lynn Loud Jr., who is the cause of everything, she will be sentenced to death in the electric chair. I said case closed, hitting the hammer. Then the police took the Louds to jail, where after that the trial had ended. After that we see Lynn tied to the electric chair, where it is then turned on, and Lynn screamed before dying. Lynn. I hate you, damn albino rat, dying. Lynn had died. Now that the culprit of Lincoln's suffering has died, now the albino will be at peace, but he will have more challenges along with his friends that he will go through. See it in the next chapter. Chapter 14, Journey to the Underworld. Previously we saw how the Louds were tried for everything they did to Lincoln and how they were sentenced to jail, but Lynn was executed in the electric chair and shouted that she hates Lincoln before dying. Present. We are in the Hyoudou residence, where we see Issei preparing some things, since in a few days they would go to the underworld to go to the meeting of young demons. This one being Sona's couple had to go, but at least he has Sona, Tomo and Tsubasa in his harem, but he wasn't selfish with them. But another couple that Issei has is Seekvaira, but also Stella, Alice, Michelle and Penemu noticed him. Issei. I hope I don't see that period hair, seriously. Sona. Don't worry, when she was punished she is no longer invited to the young demons meeting, it would be. Stella. That's right, Issei-kun, smiling. Seekvaira. Well, we have to do our things, it would be. But that they packed their things and then went to the dining room to eat something, since Issei went to prepare breakfast. Bulsirian residence. We see Lincoln preparing his things since he had to go to the underworld because he was the partner of the new heiress of the Gremory clan. Lincoln was also Grayfia's partner, but Urza and Irene were also supposed to attend the young demons meeting. Lincoln also goes with his little sisters so as not to leave them alone, where after everyone finished packing, they went to the train that would take them to the underworld. Later. Everyone was on the train, where each one did a thing. For example, Issei was sitting next to Sona and her partners, while Lincoln was sitting, but Grayfia, Kalwarner and Sarah were very close to him. Then the trip was calm until the train stopped abruptly until everyone got off, but Stella, Alice and Michelle were not there, neither were Sona nor Sarah, neither were Urza and Irene. Then a huge purple dragon appears and attacks them, but Issei and Lincoln were the ones who lasted since the others were easily defeated. Issei at that moment became an ice elementor fused with Morphosos. Elementor. I see you want to play her off, seriously. And that Elementor attacks the dragon, where the fight was more even, where then Elementor began to gain advantage and began to humiliate him until a voice is heard saying to stop, and Elementor returned to being Issei. That's where Stella and the others were, where they said that everything was a test. Alice. Tania, I see you were defeated, mockingly. Issei. Wait, it was a dragon, surprised but also shocked. Issei didn't expect that, but he knows what it means if he beats a dragon. At that the giant dragon changes form to a more human one. Tania. I see you beat me and you know what that means, flirty. This made the girls who loved Issei jealous, but then Tania kisses Issei on the lips, making him blush. Issei's beloved. Issei, Soloses. Lincoln saw that his sisters didn't see that, which relieved him since he didn't want them to see that. Sarah. Well, at least they were attentive, but now they are dirty, so go take a bath, smiling. In the thermal baths. In the male section there were only Issei, Lincoln and Saji, since they were the only men on the trip, but their dragons were in their sacred gear except Lincoln, because he only copied the sacred gear. Issei and Lincoln along with Saji were in good physical condition since they were training. Issei, me saved a Unipoliza, Panado. Lincoln. I'm not crazy about getting into a girl fight, nervous. Saji. He's right, Issei, getting into a girl fight is suicide, seriously. Lincoln. Hey, these baths are really relaxing, smiling. Issei. Yes, that's true, smiling. Saji. If we had something to drink it would be better, it's like being in a jacuzzi, smiling. Lincoln. I brought drinks in my portable cooler, taking out some cans of soda. Lincoln gave one to Issei and gave another to Saji where they then opened their cans. Lincoln. Cheers, smiling. Issei Saji. Cheers, clinking their cans. In the girls' bathroom upstairs. The girls were relaxed talking about trivial things, but in Grayfia's case she was thoughtful. Stella. Grayfia-chan, what do you have, curious? Grayfia. It's nothing, just thinking about everything that happened, sad. Stella. I mean Ria's punishment and that you're now with Issei's friend, curious. Grayfia. That's right, but now that I'm with my cute bunny, I'm happier now, blushes. Then he sighed, but those who loved Lincoln felt jealous. Afterwards, everyone finished bathing, where after that they went to dress, obviously Lisa and Lily bathed in another bathroom so as not to be traumatized. Then everyone went to Gremory Castle first, but Issei and Lincoln had to go to Sitri Castle later. Upon entering there were many maids and butlers where they entered a room where Zeodicus and Venelana were waiting for them. Zeodicus. I'm glad you came, smiling. Venelana. I'm glad you arrived, the food is ready, smiling. In the dining room. Everyone was eating, but Lincoln was sitting next to Sarah. Lincoln watched as his sisters ate, but in Lily's case, she was eating a blended soup because she still had a little trouble chewing, but although she can chew some things, she doesn't chew them well. Zeodicus. Understand Lincoln, curious. Lincoln. Say, smiling. Zeodicus. It's true that you have more than one power, curious. Lincoln. I already explained that but yes, seriously. Venelana. At least you have something that is not seen, but Issei was not far behind, smiling. They continued with dinner until they finished and everyone went to sleep since it was very late. Now the protagonists were in the underworld, but they don't know what awaits them at the meeting of young demons that will happen. See it in the next chapter. Chapter 15. The Young Demons Gathering. Previously Issei along with Lincoln and the others arrived at the underworld where Issei won another girl since Tania, a dragon, was defeated by Issei, and if a male defeats a dragon, she becomes his partner. They also talked about trivial things when they were in the hot springs to take a bath. Present. They all arrived at the Gremory Castle where they then entered the place where the butlers and maids of the mansion then received them. They take them to the room where Zeodicus and Venelana were waiting for them. Zeodicus. Hello, I'm glad you came, smiling. Venelana. We were waiting for you, smiling. Issei. I'm glad to see you, smiling. Lincoln. Well, I'm glad to see you again, smiling. Later. Everyone was having dinner, but Anna was nervous, but Lincoln told her not to be afraid in a calm way. Zeodicus. Young Lincoln, smiling. Lincoln. Yes, curious. Zeodicus. How have you been? Curious. Lincoln. Well, since those who made me suffer are already paying the consequences of their actions, seriously. Zeodicus. I see and another thing, smiling. Lincoln. Yes, which one is it, curious. Zeodicus. Could you call me father? Smiling. Sarah got up from the table where this later made Lincoln uncomfortable. At night. Lincoln and Issei were each in their respective rooms, but the rooms were huge. Lincoln was about to fall asleep, but then there was a knock on the door. Lincoln. Go ahead, seriously. That would include Zenobia, Grayfia and Calwarner, since they wanted to sleep with Lincoln. Moments later. The girl slept with Lincoln, but he was already used to sleeping with girls when he was in Kuoh. At least they didn't cause him problems like Lynn did when she fought with Lucy. The next day. Everyone was waiting for something, but then Alice appears. Alice. For 20 days they will train to increase their power, smiling. Then Tania appears, who wanted to train with Issei, where he is and takes him. Lincoln. I'll train on my own, seriously. Urza. I will train with you, it would be. Calwarner. Me too, would be. And that they went to train where later you can see the training ranges of each one. Lincoln was transformed into a Tyrannosaurus Rex to enhance his Tyrannosaurus powers. Urza activates one of her combat suits. Both were training, but Lincoln began to gain the advantage and then he changed to his gorilla form where Urza had a hard time fighting Lincoln. Meeting day. They were all dressed in formal clothes. Issei wore a dark suit. Lincoln was wearing a dark suit too. Both were walking towards the event since the young demons meeting would take place. Issei. Nervous, curious. Lincoln. Well, more or less, since I'll be with other demons, but I hope these don't do anything to my little sisters, seriously. Lisa and Lily would arrive. Lisa is now 8 years old due to a bad experiment. But we see Lily in a fuchsia dress where they both accompany Lincoln. Issei felt a little envious of Lincoln since he has little sisters and he doesn't, but at least Lincoln had Lisa and Lily. At the meeting, the young demons were talking about trivial things regarding the faction leaders they were conversing until the leader of the Nordic faction Odin and his escort Roswus arrived. Odin. Wow, it's a pleasure to see you, smiling. Stella. It's a pleasure to see you, leader of the Nordic faction Odin, smiling. Odin. It's my pleasure. I see you met two special guys, smiling. Roswus, Odin Sama Compertese would be. Odin. Oh Roswus, that's why you're single, because of your attitude, seriously. At that Roswus cries in a comical way. Roswus. Because I don't have a boyfriend, crying. Everyone had a drop of sweat over this, but then the meeting continued on its way. With Issei. He was walking through the halls where he then detected a presence and then went to investigate. At that moment he left the meeting room and saw a girl, but realized that she had the same energy as Kaneko, but stronger. The girl had cat ears and two tails, and a voluptuous figure with a black kimono with golden accessories. He had black hair and golden eyes. Issei. Who are you and what are you doing here, seriously? Naya, how handsome you are, and answering your question, I am Kuroka and my sister is Shirin, but you know her as Kaneko, smiling. Issei was surprised Kaneko had a sister. Issei. I see, serious. Kuroka. And where is my little sister, serious and curious? Issei. She was banished from the underworld, seriously. Kuroka. Why, surprised. Issei. She almost killed me because the menstruation hair manipulated her, serious. Kuroka, upon hearing menstruation hairs, gets an idea of who is talking, so she gets angry, not with Issei, but with Rias. Kuroka. Damn Rias, how dare you manipulate my sister, annoyed. Issei. I heard about you, it's true, I know you didn't kill your master because you lost control, serious. Kuroka. How do you know it would be? Issei. Simple, I have the power to see memories and I saw what you really did, seriously. Kuroka. But despite everything, they're looking for me to lock me up, nervous. Issei. Don't worry, I'm part dragon, and if you're under my protection they won't be able to do anything to arrest you, smiling. Kuroka. It's okay, I hope my little sister is okay, it would be. Issei. Now I realize that Kaneko was manipulated by the menstruation hairs, seriously. With Lincoln. The meeting was going normally, but then Seraphol would approach. Seraphol. Linky-kun, can I ask you something, curious? Lincoln. Which one, curious? Seraphol. Because you're so cute and why do some girls fall in love with you, curious? Lincoln. Well, in the first one, that's how I am since I look like a model, but I'm not one, and answering the next one, it's because I have charisma and charm, that's my gift and also my curse, smiling. Seraphol. I see, and Linky, I want to give you something, blushing. Lincoln. Before he said anything Seraphol kissed Lincoln on the lips. The albino turned red, but little by little, he accepted Seraphol's kiss where he then hugged him by the hip while Seraphol hugged him to deepen the kiss even more. After a few minutes they separated due to lack of air. Seraphol. I love you, Linky, blushing. Lincoln. I love you too, Seraphol, blushing. At that moment they both returned to the meeting, but at that moment a female voice was heard. I do not agree with this alliance, would be. Then an albino woman appears in goddess clothes. Odin. Loki, what are you doing here? Seriously. Loki. It's not obvious, father, I came to prevent this alliance, it would be. Odin. My daughter, please stop, just go back to Asgard and we'll discuss it there, seriously. Loki. What are you going to do? Mockingly. At that the goddess of deception summons a wolf-like creature. Loki. He's my son Fenrir, mockingly. At that moment the creature attacks the leaders, but Lincoln launches an attack of destruction. Fenrir turns around and looks at Lincoln angrily, and at that Lincoln becomes an extroyer. Extroyer? A new animal, this surprises me, but take care little wolf, mocking. At that Fenrir attacks extroyer, but he easily dodges it as if it were nothing. At that, extroyer stands in front of him and grabs him by the stomach. Extroyer. Extract and transform, serious. At that Fenrir falls to the ground weak as he felt that something was taken from him, and at that extroyer is surrounded by a blue energy and began to grow and transform. When everything becomes clear, extroyer now had an appearance of a Fenrir but with morphous crystals. Loki was surprised by this as Lincoln became a monster and is now a Fenrir, but she felt excited since she was attracted to the albino from the beginning. Extroyer continued fighting against the Fenrir, but Lincoln had all the advantage against the beast. Loki fought against Odin and the leaders, but in the end she was defeated, but when she saw Fenrir wounded, she had no choice but to escape. She escaped with Fenrir, and then extroyer transformed back into Lincoln. Lincoln. What happened was that I used my extract and transform, seriously. Odin would explain that Loki wants to make Ragnarok happen by hurting innocent people. After that Issei would arrive but accompanied by Kuroka, and that Stella and Seraphil become serious as well as Ajuka. Issei. I know you want an explanation and I will give it to you, seriously. And that Issei tells them what really happened the day Kuroka killed his master. Although they distrusted her, they knew that Issei was going to watch her, and after that another day would come where they would face Loki and the creature she summoned. Lincoln became extroyer in his Fenrir form where he started fighting against some. Issei and Sona and the others helped against the creatures. And that Issei becomes Elementor where he then accesses his Morphosos form. Elementor and extroyer knock the Fenrir unconscious after a while. After that, Mjolnir appears. Loki is terrified when he sees this, because if they hit her, her powers would be sealed. At that Lincoln went for the hammer and when he saw that a creature was going to bite him, he teleported to the side of the hammer and that's when it grabbed him. Lincoln was worthy of carrying it, so everyone saw how the albino could use the hammer. Issei. Who would have thought my little friend is amazing, smiling. At that Issei saw other creatures appear and went to fight transformed into Elementor. With Lincoln. He was fighting against the goddess of deception, but in Loki's carelessness, Lincoln uses the hammer, thus sealing Loki, and she says before being sealed. Loki. You won my heart bunny, being sealed. Now Loki was sealed, and then Odin appears and takes Loki to be locked up. 2 days later. The day came when they had to return to the city of Kuoh, but then Grayfia approached Lincoln. Grayfia. Linky, starting today, Stella Sama gave me permission to be your personal maid, blushing. Lincoln. So now you're staying with me, curious. Grayfia. Besides, I don't want to be far from you, blushing. Lincoln. I see, seriously. At that Zeodicus and Venelana approach Issei where they then present him with a maid. Zeodicus. She is Sasha, your personal maid Issei, smiling. Sasha. It will be a pleasure to work with you, smiling. Issei. I don't know if you don't want to is fine, serious. Sasha. Yes, I want to do it Issei-kun, I've seen how you protected the underworld, blushing. Issei. I see then it's fine, but I won't treat you like a maid, but like one of the family, smiling. She smiles happily as Issei doesn't see her as a simple maid. Then Issei and the others return to Kuoh since in a few days they would have classes. Now Issei and Lincoln saved the underworld from a possible war, but they don't know that they will have other challenges that will happen. See it in the next chapter. Chapter 16. Earning Forgiveness. Previously Issei and Lincoln went to the meeting of young demons where they made an alliance with the Nordic faction, but not only that they also fought against the goddess of deception, who wanted to bring Ragnarok. But they managed to defeat her, and not only that, Issei met Kaneko's sister named Kuroka, who got angry that Rias would use her little sister for bad things. Also that Grayfia became Lincoln's personal maid, while Issei got his personal maid named Sasha. Present. It was a new day in Kuoh City, and we see Issei and Lincoln relax since they left clones doing the tasks they sent. The girls just said how lucky Issei and Lincoln are since they finished before. Both were playing a game of Super Smash Bros where they played with Mega Man and Link, where in the end Mega Man won. Lincoln, O.T. Venci Burlon. Issei. How are you so good at this, seriously? Lincoln. I have a lot of experience playing games, but I know that one day you will beat me, smiling. Issei. Hey Lincoln, can I ask you something? Curious. Lincoln. I'm curious. Issei. You said you hated April 1st because, curious. Lincoln. It's very simple, it's because I hate Lewin, one of my sisters or rather ex-sisters, since she is a joker and comedian, and April 1st is the day of jokes, and she becomes a psychopathic monster, seriously. Issei. Psychopathic monster, confused. Lincoln. She makes jokes that are deadly traps or even dangerous weapons, since her jokes could kill someone, seriously. Issei. I see, so that's why you hate April 1st, curious. Lincoln. That's right, seriously. In that, they both continued playing their video games since they had nothing to do. But at that moment there was a knock on the door and Issei went to see who was knocking on the door. He opened it and saw that the person who was touching it was Kuroka. Since what happened at the young demons meeting, Issei convinced Stella to erase the criminal record if Kuroka told what really happened. It was then that Kuroka was no longer wanted by the demons, as they found evidence that Kuroka's master was trash. Many did not like this, but since Issei was part dragon they could not do anything since a rule is that if a female is already a criminal or is not under the protection of a dragon, they cannot do anything against her. Kuroka kisses Issei and he accepts the Nekomata's kiss. Kuroka. Issei Naya, I want a date with you, blushes. Issei. It's okay Kuroka-chan, tomorrow we will have our date, smiling. Kuroka. It's okay Naya, giving her a kiss on the lips. It wasn't the first time that Issei received kisses from Kuroka, since she lived with Issei, the brown-haired girl received a lot of love from the older Nekomata. The next day. Issei was waiting for Kuroka, he wasn't desperate since he knew that a girl takes a long time to get ready. A few minutes later Kuroka came out with another outfit of clothes. Kuroka. How do I look, curious. Issei, beautiful but Kuroka you should hide your ears and tails from Nekomata seriously. Kuroka. Why Naya, pouting. Issei. It's because you would attract a lot of attention, seriously. Kuroka. Okay, it would be. And that Kuroka uses her magic to hide her Nekomata ears and tails, now looking like a normal girl. Issei and Kuroka went to the amusement park to have some fun. They went to the roller coaster where they got on, but when they got to the bottom Issei was having fun, but Kuroka was scared and hugged Issei tightly. After that they went to the balloon popping game with darts where Issei won a stuffed animal for Kuroka. Afterwards they went to get something to eat where they ended up ordering ramen dishes. The best thing for the end was to go to the cinema to see a movie, and when it was over they went to the Hyoudou residence. But what they didn't know was that someone was following them, it was Kaneko who was incredulous since she saw her older sister with Issei. Upon arriving at the Hyoudou residence, the boy realizes that they are being followed. Issei. Whoever you are, come out of hiding, seriously. At that moment Kaneko comes out, but Issei notices that she had tears in her eyes. Imagine it's in the courtyard of Issei's house. Kaneko. Forgive me Issei-senpai, I didn't want to hurt him, but Rias, but you forced me, I didn't want to hit him, forgive me, I miss you so much, I can't live without you, I need you please, I don't want to lose you, crying inconsolably. Issei realizes that Kaneko was telling the truth since he could detect lies and he didn't detect a single lie in what Kaneko said. Issei then looks at how Kaneko cried inconsolably. It was clear that she didn't want to hurt him, she was just forced by Rias. At that Issei approached Kaneko, she thought he was going to hit her, but at that Issei gave Kaneko a hug to calm her down. Issei. I see you're telling the truth, Kaneko. You didn't mean to hurt me. I forgive you now, smiling. Kaneko cries louder and Issei hugs her more to calm her down. After a few minutes Issei separates from the hug. Issei. Kaneko may forgive you, but you must earn my trust, you don't show it with words, but with actions, smiling. Kaneko, I'll do it Issei-senpai determined. Kuroka would come out, but Kaneko is paralyzed when she sees her sister. At that Kuroka approaches Kaneko and at that Kuroka hugs her little sister. Kuroka. Forgive me for abandoning you little sister. If I had known this would happen, I would have taken you with me, crying. Kaneko. Sister, why did you leave me alone, why did you abandon me? Sad. Kuroka then puts up a barrier so no one will hear and then she tells Kaneko everything about why she left her side. Issei. Kaneko, your sister is innocent, she is no longer wanted, smiling. At that moment Issei approaches Kaneko and puts his hand on Kaneko's back and recites something, and something comes out of Kaneko, and when she saw what it was she couldn't believe it was the rook piece. Issei. Now you are no longer with menstruation hair, this is to break ties, now Kaneko-chan you will live with me, seriously. Kaneko accepted although she earned Issei's forgiveness, she still had to prove herself worthy of his trust not with words, but with actions. Now Kaneko can start over with Issei, but now she is no longer the Tower of Rias. What will happen next? See it in the next chapter. Chapter 17. Reunion of a friend. Previously Issei had a date with Kuroka where he had fun with the Nekomata, but when they returned Issei saw Kaneko, and she begged and cried and asked Issei to forgive her since she was threatened by Rias, but Issei forgave her and took the rook piece from her without her dying. But Kuroka apologized to Kaneko for leaving her with Rias and for abandoning her, but in the end they reconciled. Present. It was a new day in the city of Kuoh, and we see Issei woken up with his loved ones. Issei. Good morning girls, smiling. Sona. Good morning Issei-kun, smiling. Kuroka. Good morning Naya, smiling. Issei. Girls, get ready because we have to go to the academy, seriously. The girls quickly go into the bathroom to bathe. Luckily, the bathroom was huge so they could all bathe at the same time. Issei took a bath afterwards and then everyone went to prepare breakfast and when they finished they went to the academy. When Issei and the girls arrived, they went to their classes where everything went normally until recess. There they meet Lincoln and the others. Issei. How did it go, curious. Lincoln. Well now that I have the power of a Fenrir and others, but well I want to show you something, but it will be later, smiling. Issei. Okay, but now you want to go to the music room, curious. Lincoln nods and so they both went to the music room where they both started playing music where Lincoln with a DJ equipment started creating music. Issei. Wow, it looks good on you, surprised. Lincoln. Your turn to play something, smiling. So Issei set out to play music and sing a song. Both continued with their own thing, since the walls were soundproof, meaning nothing could be heard, thus avoiding complaints from the teachers. Later. In Issei's class he was sitting, but he saw that the teacher didn't arrive, but then a woman in formal clothes would come in. Greetings students, I am Mafayu and I will be one of your teachers, I would be. Everyone stares at the teacher in amazement except Issei, who recognizes the teacher since he met her in the past when he was a child. Flashback. We are with an Issei when he was 10 years old. He was pedaling happily because he had gotten a good grade on an exam and his parents as a reward gave him money to buy a video game. He was on a bike that was bought for his birthday, but the bike was electric, but it looks like it's from the future. Issei has two modes of use, which is the normal mode where he has to pedal, but also the automatic mode where he accelerates like a motorcycle. Issei, 10 years old. Today is a great day, smiling. He then continued pedaling, but then he heard some screams and went to see what was happening, but then he saw a bad man trying to abuse a woman. Man. But how soft you have them, grabbing her breasts. I'll leave me sick, scared. The man slaps Mafayu. Man. I will teach you to respect me, annoyed. At that moment, Issei, on impulse, accelerates and with his baseball bat hits the man, who crashes him into a garbage can. The pink-haired girl saw a boy with a bat, she was surprised, a boy saved her. Issei, 10 years old. Come on, that man is bad, serious. Who are you, serious and curious? Issei, 10 years old. I am Issei Hyoudou and you, curious. I am Mafayu, it would be. But then the man gets up with a sour face. Man. You'll see, brat, annoyed. Issei, 10 years old. Mafayu subace, there is no time, serious and worried. At that moment, Mafayu gets on the bike behind Issei and clings to him, and Issei pedals quickly, managing to get away from that bad man. Issei could handle Mafayu's weight since he exercised. Mafayu. Issei-kun, why did you risk yourself to save me? Serious and curious. Issei, 10 years old. It's because it's the right thing to do and there's a saying a good person makes a difference, seriously. At that moment they heard a horn and Issei and Mafayu turned around and it was the bad man in his car. Man. Now I will give you what you deserve, laughing like crazy. At that point Issei knew that pedaling would not work and that is when he activated motorcycle mode where he accelerated. Mafayu clings to Issei, but she had her breasts on the back of Issei's neck, but he didn't take it seriously since he wasn't going to let them hurt Mafayu. At that moment he accelerated as if he were driving a motorcycle and the bad man was chasing him. Issei then continued accelerating where there was a chase where Issei was gaining advantage against that bad man. Until he makes a turn where the bad man follows him and then he sees an enclosed space. Mafayu. We are not going to pass, scared. Issei, 10 years old. Of course we will achieve it, trust me, determined. They were arriving until Mafayu closed her eyes, she didn't want to see. But then Issei manages to pass and then the bad man tries to stop but ends up destroying the entrance of a store by crashing. Then the police arrested the guy and then Mafayu told them that the guy tried to abuse her and that's how that bad man was sent to prison. Mafayu approached Issei and gave him a big hug. Mafayu. Thank you for saving me from that guy, sobbing. Issei, 10 years old. You're welcome Mafayu-chan, smiling. Mafayu. Issei, why did you risk your life for me? Sadly. Issei, 10 years old. It's because I may be a child, but I have the heart of a hero, as the saying goes with great power comes great responsibility, smiling. Mafayu. I love you Issei, smiling. Issei, 10 years old. And me too, smiling. They both joined in a hug, but Issei didn't tell what happened since they weren't going to believe him. End of flashback. Issei was surprised, Mafayu didn't change much since the last time they saw each other. Mafayu gave his class until it was time to leave. When Issei was the last to leave, he was stopped by Mafayu. Issei. How long Mafayu-chan, smiling. Mafayu. I missed you so much Issei, blushing. Issei. Me too, Mafayu-chan. You've been beautiful since the last time we saw each other, smiling. Mafayu. Oh, thank you, Issei-kun. You know, I want to ask you something, blushing. Issei. What a thing Mafayu-chan, curious. Mafayu. I want to go on a date with you, blushing. Issei. Okay, fine, but first I want you to accompany me, Mafayu-chan, smiling. Mafayu. What for, curious. Issei. You'll see, but you must meet my family, smiling. She understood and so they both left the room, but Issei would have to give Mafayu an explanation what will happen see it in the next chapter. Chapter 18 Surprise and Gaining More Power. Previously Issei discovers that his new teacher was Mafayu, a woman who he saved from a guy who wanted to abuse her, where the brown-haired man managed to defeat the guy who was after Mafayu. Also that she had feelings for Issei and he told her that he already has partners, but first he should talk to them. Present. After Issei meets Mafayu again, he tells him some things, but he knows he has to talk to the girls, so they accept Mafayu. When they ask her some things she tells them something that leaves them in shock. Mafayu. Girls, I know you're not human, it would be. Everyone is in shock, but especially Issei, since he didn't tell him about the supernatural. Sona. How do you know that? Surprised. Mafayu. Because I have sacred gear, smiling. At that Mafayu summons what appears to be a spear. Sona. I detect angel energy in that spear, surprised. Mafayu. You may wonder what it is called. It is a sacred spear that was forged by the biblical god apart from the true Longinus, it would be. Issei. That explains a lot, but Mafayu, you have a combat suit, curious. Mafayu. Yes, I have it and it's this one, smiling. At that moment a light covers Mafayu, and at that moment she had another outfit on. Mafayu. I learned how to do this, but Issei, if you have questions, when I met you when you were little, I didn't know how to do this because I didn't know anything about my sacred gear, smiling. Issei. I see. And Mafayu, how do you know about the supernatural, curious. Mafayu. That's because when I woke up my sacred gear I had visions there, I could know everything about the supernatural, it would be. Issei. Good, and how did you awaken your power, curious. Mafayu. That's because one night when I went out to eat something I was attacked by fallen angels, and that's when I woke up my power and knew how to defend myself against them, and I killed them so they wouldn't come back for me, remembering how she was attacked by fallen angels. Sona. That explains everything, would be. Mafayu. I love Issei since he saved me from that guy who wanted to abuse me. I agree to share him, blushing. The girls talked for a while, and that's when they decided to accept Mafayu as one of them. Issei. Okay Mafayu, but I want to say that I don't have favoritism with anyone because I don't want to leave anyone excluded, seriously. Mafayu approached Issei and kissed him on the lips. Issei blushed but accepted. Elsewhere. We are located in the Bulsirian residence where we see Lincoln training in his Fenrir form. Lincoln remembered how he used his extraction and transformation with Loki's Fenrir, where he now had the powers and abilities of a Fenrir. And that he fights against Urza, who wore a fire-themed outfit. Urza. That's great Linky, even though you're in that monstrous giant wolf form, I like training with you, smiling. Extroyer. I like this form since I have something new for my list of transformations. I already have the bat mode, spider, tiger, gorilla, some dinosaurs etc, smiling, showing his sharp teeth. Urza then continues training with Extroyer, where they both continued until they finally finished and Extroyer became Lincoln again. Lincoln. What a good training in that form since I have many copied powers, seriously. Urza. How many do you have? Curious. Lincoln. Well, considering my transformations, but now I have to go do something, seriously. This activates the thrusters where it flies away. Then he went to see what he could get. Then he continued flying until he reached a cave where he found a Quetzalcoatl skeleton. This becomes Extroyer, and in that it approaches the skeleton. Extroyer. Extract and transform, serious. And that Extroyer is surrounded by a blue energy wherein that it approaches, wherein that it now has the appearance of a Quetzalcoatl. Extroyer. Another dinosaur for my collection, surprised. And that Extroyer leaves the cave and flies away, where he returned to the house, but luckily nobody saw him. This one transforms back into Lincoln, where he enters the house. Ice. This one was in his Elementor form to train, but then he comes up with a destruction mode, since he remembered that when he had the power of the Morphous one, when he received the power of destruction, and now he has the purple appearance. Elementor. Wow, this is exciting. I don't regret having copied the power of that period hair, laughing. And that he continued with his training, wherein that he gradually mastered the power of destruction that he took from Rias, since he remembered that in one of the attacks, he united the power of destruction with Elementium. Then he transforms back into Issei. Issei. Ugh, thank goodness, and I'm glad I found a way to free the dragon without me dying, smiling. At that point he began to recite a spell where he managed to remove the boosted gear and thus free Drag. Due to fusing with the Elementium, Issei can remove the boosted gear without dying. But in that an energy surrounds the gem where a female silhouette with red hair is formed. Issei was shocked, Drag was female. Issei, thanks for freeing me. I know you have doubts, but I was always female and my real name is Scarlet, smiling. Issei. I can't believe this, all this time you were female, surprised. Scarlet. Yes, but the reason why I hid my gender is because I didn't want to be turned into a breeding machine, it would be. Issei. I see, but I freed you so you wouldn't become a weapon again, since I already have a lot of powers, smiling. Scarlet. Issei, I want something, blushing. Issei. What do you want, Scarlet, curious. At that the dragon approaches Issei and begins to kiss him with some lust, at which point Issei begins to accept the kiss. He hugged her hip while Scarlet hugged Issei's neck to deepen the kiss. Minutes later they separated due to lack of air. Scarlet. I love you, Issei, you're my man, you never saw me as a weapon, blushing. Issei. I love you too, Scarlet, and by the way I freed you so they can no longer use you as a weapon, seriously. Scarlet. Thank you very much, Issei-kun, blushing. Then she gives him another kiss, but then Mafayu comes in and sees this with jealousy. Mafayu. Issei, who is she, jealous. Scarlet. I am the Red Empress Dragon, but I was previously known as Drake, it would be. Mafayu. I mean, you were always a female, surprised. Scarlet. That's right, but now Issei is my man, kissing Issei on the cheek. This was enough for Mafayu to explode in jealousy and grab Scarlet, having a comical fight. Han Lincoln. He showed his new invention, and it was a device that allows him to travel to other dimensions that looks like a clock. After finishing the device he decides to test it where it travels to another place. In another dimension. We see how some warriors are fighting. These were Goku and Vegeta against a guy identical to Goku but dressed in black. While there was a younger boy fighting against a green-skinned guy, it was future Trunks who was fighting against Zamasu, who was the green-skinned being. In the middle of the fight, Black Goku stabs Goku with a Kai sword and leaves Vegeta badly injured. Black Goku. Foolish mortals do not understand that they cannot fight justice, smiling maliciously. Future Trunks was busy fighting against Zamasu, but Black was going to stab Trunks in the back with a Kai sword, but Black received an attack and saw that the person responsible was Extroyer. Extroyer? Didn't they teach you that attacking from behind is cowardly, silly, mocking? Black Goku. Miserable mortal, you will pay for this, annoyed. In that, Black Goku with Super Saiyan Rose attacks Extroyer, but he dodges his attacks as if it were child's play. In that both clash fists and kicks, wherein that Extroyer uses his power of destruction and gives Black in the face. Extroyer. I shouldn't be overconfident at all, but now I'll see if this is effective, smiling maliciously. In that Black Goku attacks Extroyer, but in that Extroyer kicks him in the bottoms. Black grabs his crotch because of the pain he felt. He knew that was the part where it hurts the most on a man. At that Extroyer puts his hand on Black's chest and shouts. Extroyer. Extract and acquire, laughing. At that point, Black Goku feels weak because he felt that something was taken from him, and at that point he loses Super Saiyan Rose. In case you have questions, Lincoln doesn't get the Super Saiyan Rose out of nowhere, he has to train, that's why he stole Black's genetic code, and there will also be powerful enemies as the story progresses. At that point, Extroyer moves away, where he receives a Zama attack, but he blocks it in time. Goku, Vegeta, and Trunks watched as the crystal guy made Black lose his transformation. Black Goku. What did you do to me? Weakened. Extroyer. It's not obvious, damn murderer took away part of your genetic code and part of your power, and as a consequence you ended up weak, idiot, laughing. And that Black tries to use his Zencase, but then he realizes that he can't. Extroyer. I forgot to tell you that I blocked that thing they call Zencase, because I saw your memories and how you became strong out of nowhere, now it's blocked, idiot, laughing like a lunatic. At that moment Zamas was going to attack him, but then Extroyer realizes that he is grabbing Zamas. Extroyer. Idiot, I know you're immortal, so I'll do something worse than kill you, laughing like crazy. But before anything happened, a portal opened, where Elementor came out with the power of destruction. Elementor. Extroyer, you didn't think you were going to keep all the fun, seriously? Extroyer. Okay, but I'll take care of the black-clothed person, seriously. At that point Elementor started beating Zamasu up, but Elementor activated morphing mode and did the same thing Extroyer did with Goku Black. Zamas feels weak as he feels that something has been taken away from him. After that, future Trunks fights Zamasu and the following happens. They realized that the seal was missing and the container began to shake, where Zamasu tried to free himself, but a purple seal appeared on the container. Elementor. Don't worry, I've already solved it. That seal will prevent escape and it will never be able to get out again, seriously. At that point, Black Goku transforms into Super Saiyan Rose and launches himself to attack Extroyer, but he begins to give him the beating of his life. Black Goku, no me mate's a dollarito. Extroyer. I won't do it because someone else wants to do that, seriously. And that Trunks of the future approaches Black Goku. Future Trunks. Because of you I lost my mother and you killed many humans. I will never forgive you for that, annoyed. And that Trunks charges energy with his sword where he ends up killing Black in the same way he did with Frieza. Goku. Hey, who are you? Curious. In that, extroyer and Issei transform, returning to their human forms. Issei. My name is Issei Hyoudou, smiling. Lincoln. I'm Lincoln Winter and we're from another dimension, smiling. Vegeta. How do they have those powers since they look human, but they are not, seriously? Issei. It's a long story, but why tell it if I can show it to you, seriously? Issei, by removing and copying Zama's abilities, is now immortal since he copied Zama's immortality. And that Issei shows his memories just like Lincoln where the three Saiyans were shocked by everything they saw. Issei. Well that's all, any questions, curious? Goku. Yes, like him, pointing at Lincoln, just by touching black and saying something he weakened him, curious. Lincoln. That's because I used my extract and acquire where I can extract the genetic code and power of my target thanks to the morph crystals, smiling. Future Trunks. That explains a lot and thank you very much for helping us against these enemies, smiling. Vegeta. Whatever, but you who now have the power of black, don't neglect your training, seriously. Lincoln. I won't do it, okay Issei, we have to go, seriously. Issei. You're right, serious. And that both activate their watches and return to their dimension, but now both gained more power. Later. Issei and Lincoln trained, but now since Issei was immortal, he could not age or die. Lincoln then activates an aura of dark energy, so both of them started training. Now Issei and Lincoln have more power, but they don't know that they will face dangerous enemies. What will happen next? See it in the next chapter. Chapter 19. The Original Demons. Previously, Issei and Lincoln were seen traveling to the other dimension where they gained new power by extracting and acquiring the genetic code of Goku Black and Zamasu, but they managed to defeat them, but Goku Black was cut into pieces by Trunks from the future. Present. We see Issei and Lincoln both training with their respective powers, since Issei with the power of destruction could destroy to erase from existence, and more because he learned the Hakai, but it was not an easy task, and more because now he is immortal. Lincoln, however, thanks to the abilities he obtained by extracting the genetic code of Black Goku, has access to Saiyan DNA, but must awaken the Super Saiyan first. Issei. Who would have thought I was immortal now, smiling. Lincoln. Yes, but in part I am because I obtained immortality when I extracted the power of that bird and fused it with my other powers, smiling. After that, both would continue with their training until they stop. Later. Issei was with Seekvaira since she asked him to come see her where she was waiting for him. Issei. Seekvaira-chan, what are you doing dressed like that? Blushing. Seekvaira. Issei-kun, I want to give you something as a thank you for saving me when I was attacked by Fenrir, blushing. At that moment she approaches him where Issei was still standing still, as he couldn't get over his astonishment, but then she takes him by the cheeks and kisses him on the lips. Lemon skipped. They both fell asleep in the room, and then they both hugged each other with a satisfied smile. Han Lincoln. He was training and when he finished he went to take a shower where when he saw himself in the mirror his appearance had changed. Lincoln's hair now resembled Goku Black's and his muscle mass increased a little in size and he was a little taller. Lincoln. Well, maybe it's an effect of taking away his power and DNA, surprised. After that he put on his technological suit since he is not going to change the style of his suit since he likes the suit that Lisa made for him. After that, Lincoln began to concentrate, where he remembered what he suffered due to bad luck, and then he screamed with negative energy, where he achieved the Super Saiyan. Lincoln. Wow, that's great, smiling. In this he trains with the transformation to become stronger with the Super Saiyan. He also achieved phase 2 and 3, but it was not easy where he had them as a base state. He is training in a dimension similar to the time room. After much training thanks to absorbing Black's DNA, he gained access to his memories and how to learn Divine Kai and Dark Kai, where with some difficulty he accessed Super Saiyan Rose. Lincoln. Ugh, it's not easy, I almost fainted, seriously. After that he leaves the dimension where he deactivates the Super Saiyan Rose, but fell exhausted to the ground. He takes out a pill and swallows it, thus recovering energy, and then he went to see his friends. The next day. Issei and Lincoln were at the academy where they entered the music club to talk for a while. Issei. Wow, now you have Super Saiyan Rose, surprised. Lincoln. That's right, smiling. Issei. Well now I know how to do a Hakai like that Zamasu guy. I don't regret having taken his power and copied his immortality, smiling. And that Issei makes a Hakai sphere successfully. Lincoln. I can do that too, but you better make her disappear before you accidentally delete someone, seriously. Issei makes the sphere disappear before anyone sees it. Issei. Thank goodness no one saw us, smiling. Then they get ready to sing music since they didn't have classes because of the break. Lincoln and Lincoln sing a song as a duet. So when they finished they didn't know what it sounded like and Tsubaki heard them sing. Sona. Issei-kun you have a beautiful voice, sobbing. Tsubaki. Linky my prince sings beautifully, sobbing. Issei and Lincoln hadn't realized that they were heard, but then Sona and Tsubaki leave without being seen. Later. Issei and Lincoln went to the underworld since they were called where Stella takes them to a remote area, but in that they are attacked by a woman with chocolate-colored hair and black clothes. Stella. Wow, but if it's Shyla Beelzebub, the daughter of the original Maya Beelzebub, it would be. Shyla. Wow, I see that you know about me, well that doesn't matter now since I will destroy you here and now, it would be. Issei. And who decided that, serious? Shyla. Wow, but if it's my dear Issei alias Elementor, what are you doing with them? Seductive voice. Issei. Wait, do I know you or something, confused. Shyla. If I spied on you and saw everything you did, I know when I defeat these fools you will be mine, seductress. This made Issei's girls very jealous. But then another original demon appears next to Shyla, it was a black-haired woman. Stella. Carolina Asmodeus, the daughter of the original Maya Asmodeus, you are also in the Chaos Brigade, it would be. Carolina. Don't get involved in this, cold. Issei then becomes Elementor, where Shyla summons some Cerberus, where Issei then becomes Magma Elements, where he can easily defeat the Cerberus. But in Carolina's case, she summons creatures similar to snakes, but in that case, Lincoln becomes an extroyer and accesses the gorilla form. So the two fight without much effort until they finish off the beasts. In that the two demons attack Elementor, but he changes to Water Elementor to fight against them. But then another attack occurs where they see the person responsible who was a white-haired woman. Stella gets a little scared since it was Rias live in Lucifer who was the daughter of the original Lucifer. Rias. Wow, but my old friend Stella, mockingly. Stella. Rias, why do you earn all this? Worried. Rias. It's not obvious dear to get back what belongs to me, it would be. But then Lincoln interrupts Rias by appearing in front of her. Lincoln. Oh, you won't attack my friend's partner, seriously. But Rias stares at Lincoln and a wicked smile forms on her face. Rias. But if it's the cute bunny that copies powers, I'm sure you took my granddaughter's power away, smiling maliciously. Lincoln. Wait, you're related to Valerie, seriously. Rias. Yes, I am her grandmother, but well, I already have what I've been looking for. I saw your potential and how powerful you were that you copied someone's powers just by touching them, that's why I will take you with me and you will give me a strong offspring. Imagine your blood with the blood of the daughter of the original Lucifer, seductive voice. Lincoln. Oh, wow, the crazy woman liked it, with a drop of sweat. At that point, Rias tries to attack Lincoln, but he knew how to defend himself from her, whereupon he accesses his Fenrir form. Extroyer. Let's see if you can do this, seriously. They then resume their fight, but now Extroyer has the advantage against Rias. Ice. Elementor was in his metal form fighting against Shyla and Carolina, where he had a clear advantage against the original demons. Elementor. I've improved my combat skills over time, but now I'll see what you original demons are made of, mockingly. Then that Elementor attacks them, but they respond with elemental attacks, but since Elementor was in his metallic form, he didn't suffer any damage. The original demons, seeing that their attacks were of no use, had no choice but to flee. Stella. They left, it would be. Then that Elementor and Extroyer transform back into Issei and Lincoln. Issei. Wow, they were strong, seriously. Stella. We must give the report, let's go, it would be. Issei. Fine but we have to be alert in case they attack again, serious. Lincoln. I have to watch my back now that Lucifer's daughter is behind me, seriously. This is how they left the place after the battle against the original demons. What will happen? See it in the next chapter. Halloween special. Halloween has arrived in Japan and we see how people had fun with the holiday, whether at parties or asking for candy and even at fairs, but now we are in a building where we see Issei and Lincoln, both in costumes. Issei was disguised as Alex Mercer. Lincoln was dressed as Alan Walker. Issei. And you dress up as Alan Walker, serious and curious. Lincoln. I like it and by the way there is something to do tonight, smiling. Issei. What will we do, curious. Lincoln. Walk around or even see what we find obvious, smiling. Issei. I like how it sounds, smiling. At that point the two prepare to jump, but Lincoln puts the computer in his backpack and at that point the two jump and begin to fly. Moments later. Issei and Lincoln walk the streets to ask for candy where because of their costumes, they get large amounts of candy where they return to the Hyoudou residence. Lincoln. A Halloween without those idiots Hank and Hawk ruining it, seriously. Issei. Hank and Hawk who are they, serious and curious. Lincoln. Two big meatheads who play football and on Halloween, I accidentally sent them to my old street where they stole the candy and then my ex-family and I scared them so badly that they left and said they won't come back to Franklin Avenue, seriously. Issei. They are really stupid, mockingly. Lincoln. Well, that doesn't matter, but now let's go because I have something planned, smiling. Issei. Me too, smiling. In that, the two of them get into some classic cars to go for a ride, which were a Ford Mustang and a Chevrolet Chevelle. In that, the two accelerate and through a device, both enter a portal where they arrive in the United States where they arrive at Royal Woods. At that moment, Lincoln sees the two big guys in the distance, where he comes up with a plan, where he stops and comes up with something. Lincoln. I know, smiling maliciously. Then he gets out of the car and begins to plan his revenge against Hank and Hawk for what they did to him in the past. Then he sees them getting into a pool, which brings a smile to his face. He takes something out of the car and it's a cooler, and he opens it and takes out a bag with modified piranhas. Lincoln. That's it, my little friends, time for your feast. Remember to eat everything I'll give you, smiling. At that moment, he sneaks out and sees the two big guys in the pool and takes the opportunity to put his friends in, and when they see the big guys, they go after them. At that point, Lincoln goes out and sees heart-rending screams and beasts eating flesh. After that, Lincoln comes in and sees the bloodbath, and then he gathers his piranhas. Lincoln. Ready, satisfied, curious. The piranhas nod since they were somewhat intelligent, and then Lincoln returns to the car and puts them in the cooler. Lincoln. Ready, smiling. So he went to another place where Issei decided to move away a bit to see what he found. Ice. He was driving along the road, but then he stopped because he detected something and went to the nearby forest where he parked and got out for a moment. Issei. What's up, seriously? He then walks a little and sees something in the distance. He runs as fast as he can, and then he comes to what appears to be a cabin. Issei then hears footsteps and quickly turns around where he would see a woman who had the following appearance. She had a somewhat pale appearance and had white hair and wore a red dress. Issei. Oh hi, surprised. Who are you and how did you get here, it would be. Issei. My name is Issei Hyoudou, but I will call you Issei, but who are you, serious and curious. Where are my manners? I am Juliet, the most powerful of the vampires, it would be. Issei. No wonder you're pale, serious. Juliet. But unlike other vampires, the sun doesn't hurt me, so I can go to the beach, but my skin can camouflage itself so as not to raise suspicions among mortals, but another thing is that I consume both blood and food, it would be. Issei. Well, my power is that I become an Elementor, serious. In this he becomes an Elementor, surprising Juliet. Elementor. And in case you have any doubts, what other skills do I have? I can adapt to any element depending on the one I play, for example, seriously. This one becomes an air element and then touches water to become a water element, and after that it returns to normal. Issei. And recently gained immortality, smiling. Juliet. You're a box of surprises, darling, but since when did you have that power? Curious. Issei. For a long time, but it wasn't easy to handle, seriously. Juliet. I understand, seriously. So Issei and Juliet continued getting to know each other. Han Lincoln. He was driving his car, satisfied that Hank and Hawk were already dead, and then he stopped, where he felt a huge presence, then he accelerated, and then he reached a field where he saw a ship where a blonde-haired girl in a blue suit came out. Lincoln blushes quite a bit when he sees her since she was very attractive, where the woman sees him. Lincoln. Hello, blushing. The blonde sees him and then she approaches the albino. Hello, I'm Samus Aran, where am I? Serious and curious. Lincoln. In Royal Wood. Samus, you are very pretty, blushing. Samus Aran. Ah, thanks for the compliment, blushing. Lincoln. And how did you end up here since you don't seem to be from around here, serious and curious. Samus Aran. I was fighting some monsters, but suddenly my ship entered a portal, it would be. Another ship would fall, but some pretty ugly aliens come out. Samus Aran. Oh, they're not those things, I hate them, they're xenomorphs. Do whatever you do, if you kill them, don't let their blood touch you because it's acidic, seriously. And that the xenomorphs attack wherein that Samus Aran would take out an armor to fight against the aliens. He is then using his cannon to shoot at them and manages to kill some aliens. Lincoln then activates his suit where it manifests the power of destruction, but then concentrates it, turning it purple. And that Lincoln fights against the xenomorphs, but he knows that he must be careful with their blood. Ice. He was telling his story to Juliet, who was shocked by everything she heard but felt sorry for Issei for what he had to go through. Juliet. I'm sorry for everything that happened, Issei, saddened. Issei. Now I must move forward as my parents would have wanted, decided. Juliet. If I ever see those bitches, I'll leave them like a cold raisin. Issei. Well, that doesn't matter since now my priority is to take care of those I love, seriously. Juliet. I admire that you take care of your loved ones, smiling. Issei. I'm hungry, do you want roast meat? smiling. Juliet. With pleasure, smiling. So they went to eat roast beef to pass the time. Han Lincoln. This one along with Samus Aran managed to finish off the Xenomorphs and then Lincoln with the power of destruction destroys them. Samus Aran takes off her armor, leaving her in her blue suit. Samus Aran. How do you have powers, serious and curious? Lincoln. It's a long story, but hey, I'll go get a milkshake. Do you want one? Smiling. Samus Aran. Gladly, plus I'm a little hungry, smiling. So they went for a milkshake to eat something, but at least Lincoln did well this Halloween since he got revenge on Hank and Hawk. It seems that this Halloween was full of surprises, but now more things are coming. End of the special and happy Halloween. Chapter 20 Yokai and Kaiju Faction. Previously on Halloween, the protagonists went through a Halloween they were not going to forget and both got new partners, but Lincoln was able to get revenge on Hank and Hawk by killing them with some hungry piranhas. Issei met a vampire named Juliet where they both had a date to get to know each other better. Present. We are in a training room where we see Lincoln training with Samus who was wearing the following outfit. Lincoln. I don't deny that you're beautiful Samus, smiling. Samus. That's very nice of you, smiling. And that both continued training where after a while they finished and then they got ready to go out since there were no classes that day. But Issei. He was dating Juliet, at least since she doesn't have the weaknesses of vampires, she can go out during the day, and then they both go out to see a movie, and they went to see the movie Wild Robot. Later. Issei and Juliet leave the cinema happy because they enjoyed the Wild Robot movie. Issei. Wow, it's a good movie. DreamWorks was saved since it had failures except for Puss in Boots 2, seriously. Juliet. Well, let's go to dinner, smiling. They both went to a very exclusive restaurant where Issei previously made a reservation. Later on. We see Lincoln who was training while Samus spends an afternoon with the others to get to know them better, but he decides to use the teleportation technique and ends up arriving in Kyoto. He was dressed in his combat suit, but then he heard some footsteps, but then he saw someone come out of some bushes. It was a girl with blonde hair and fox ears. Wait, and who are you and what are you doing here, serious and curious? Lincoln. It's bad manners to ask who you are without first introducing yourself, seriously. You're right, I must introduce myself. My name is Kuoh, it would be. Lincoln. See, it's not that difficult. Well, my name is Lincoln, smiling. Kuoh. Hey, how did you get here? Serious and curious. Lincoln. It's a long story, seriously. Kuoh. But because you emanate so much power, serious and curious. Lincoln. Well Kuoh-chan, it all started like this, seriously. This story is about how he got his power thanks to the Morphous crystals. Kuoh. Wow, then you have many powers, surprised. Lincoln. That's right, seriously. So they continued getting to know each other better, but they went to the palace where there was a beautiful woman identical to Kuoh. Kuoh. Mom, I want to introduce you to someone, smiling. At that the yokai woman approaches Lincoln and she doesn't deny that he's cute. Nice to meet you, my name is Yusaka, I'm the leader of the yokai faction, smiling. Lincoln. Nice to meet you, I'm Lincoln, but don't worry, I know about the supernatural and look at my powers, smiling. And that he becomes extroyer where Yusaka is in shock. Yusaka. What are you, scared? Extroyer. In this form my name is extroyer, but don't be afraid I won't do anything to you, since I'm not entirely a villain, seriously. And that he returns to his Lincoln form where he tells Yusaka his story. Yusaka was surprised by everything she heard, but there was no lie. But Issei. He was touring a place that was an island never visited before, but then he heard the roar of a beast and became alert, where he dodged the attack of a girl. Issei sees that he had beast-like features and recognizes them. Issei. Godzilla, surprised. Godzilla. Someone new to have fun with, smiling, showing sharp teeth. In that she attacks Issei, but he knows how to defend himself from the kaiju girl, and in that Issei becomes an Elementor to fight against her. Elementor enters his Morphosos form where he attacks the girl with everything and then gives her a few blows that leave her on the ground. But the kaiju girl throws an elemental attack at him that Elementor dodges. Elementor. Wow, you're full of surprises, but I'm better, mockingly. And that he decides to use more of his power where he attacks her with some electric shocks, but if that were not enough, he turns his fists into rocks and after that he leaves her on the ground quite hurt. Godzilla. Kuoh, how is it possible, Sor? Elementor returns to being Issei wherein that he helps her get up. Issei. I'm already used to fighting against being stronger than me and now I'm very powerful, smiling. Issei uses his magic to heal the kaiju girl's wounds. Godzilla. Now I'm yours, smiling. Issei. What a thing, confused. Godzilla. If you defeat a female kaiju, she becomes your partner, seductive. Issei. That's not for dragons, confused. Godzilla. Yes, but we kaiju are related to dragons, seductive. Issei. Oh damn, the crazy girl liked it, seriously. But they are interrupted when a blonde woman appears, but Godzilla recognizes her as Queen Ghidorah. Godzilla. What do you want, Ghidorah? It would be. Ghidorah. Who is he and what is he doing in our territory? It would be. Godzilla. He is my male since he defeated me in a fight and his name is Issei, it would be. Ghidorah examines Issei but realizes he has a lot of power. Issei. I don't know what you want but I'm not anyone's servant, seriously. Ghidorah. How did you defeat Godzilla-chan if he is one of the most powerful, would be. Issei. It was my Elementor form, seriously. At that point he turns into Elementor, leaving Ghidorah amazed. Elementor. The fight wasn't easy, but I managed to beat her, seriously. Elementor detransforms back into Issei. Issei. What will you do now? Serious and curious. Ghidorah. Nothing, would be. Issei. Something tells me she'll leave me dry. At that Godzilla grabs Issei in a hug and puts him between his breasts. Godzilla. I have a nice male, smiling. But Ghidorah saw this and felt jealous of seeing that. Issei noticed that. Now we know about the yokai and kaiju factions, but the protagonists don't know that something else is coming that will happen. See it in the next chapter. Christmas special. It was a night in the city and we see that there was snow and the streets were decorated for Christmas. Now we are located at the Hyoudou residence where Issei was decorating the tree for the special occasion since it was Christmas night and he had organized everything to invite his loved ones. Issei with the help of Sona and the other girls had finished decorating. Issei. Ah, I love Christmas, smiling. Sona. Me too since it's a good holiday, smiling. Hadis. Hey, how long until dinner? Curious. Issei. Nothing is missing since I took care of preparing everything early since I don't want delays or setbacks, smiling. Issei went to the kitchen to see if there was anything else missing for the party and saw that everything was already finished. Han Lincoln. He was dressing formally because he wanted to look good for the party that Issei had organized. Lincoln went to accompany the girls to the Hyoudou residence since the Christmas party is taking place there. Later. Everyone was gathered at the Hyoudou residence and they saw that everything was spectacular for the Christmas party. Issei. I'm so glad you came to my Christmas party, smiling. Lincoln. Never missed a party, smiling. Sona. As you know, we are gathered here to celebrate Christmas, smiling slightly. Sasha. Issei-kun, I know you've been through a lot, but I know you'll move forward without letting the past affect you, seriously. Issei. Christmas, apart from being my favorite holiday, also makes me see many things, ignoring all the bad, smiling. Lincoln. Yes, friend, since we are not friends but a family, since as the saying goes, family is not only the people you are born with but the people you love, smiling. Urza. You're right, smiling. Issei. Well, what's next? Curious. Lincoln. How about I show you a gift I made for you, Issei, smiling. Issei. What is it, curious? Lincoln. Come to the entrance and you'll see. I know you like it, smiling. Then they go out and arrive at the entrance and there was a dark modern Chevrolet Corvette. Issei, Kuoh surprised. Lincoln. It's a gift from me, smiling. Issei. I don't know what to say, surprised. Lincoln. You don't have to pay me since I brought this car for you, but I also have another gift for you, smiling. He shows him a black classic motorcycle. Issei. I always wanted a motorcycle like that, smiling. Lincoln. I modified it with many things, but you'll see them later, smiling. Samus. Hey Linky, you have a gift for me, curious. Lincoln. Oh yeah, and this is it, gives Samus a new phone. Samus. This is great, smiling. Issei. How about we go to dinner, smiling. Then they enter the mansion and then Issei and his girls had finished serving it and everyone started eating. After everyone finished eating, everyone went to sleep in the many rooms that there were in the Hyoudou mansion, but another reason was because it was snowing a lot. The next day. We see how everyone woke up and when they went to the living room there were many gifts under the Christmas tree. Issei. Wow, I see the gifts are already here, smiling. After that, everyone takes a gift, but in Lincoln's gift there was a note that said go outside. When Lincoln does it he sees that there was a black car. Lincoln. It's great, smiling. Issei. I see that it is a great gift, smiling. Lincoln. Well, how about we go snowboarding, smiling. Issei. Yes, because snow mountains are good, smiling. Then the two of them take snowboards and then get into Lincoln's new truck. The girls went to play in the snow because even though they had grown up they liked to play in the snow. You could say that this Christmas Issei was able to enjoy it with the company of his new family. End of the special and Merry Christmas. Chapter 21. Some fun. Previously we saw the Christmas special where the protagonists celebrated Christmas and wow, it was a good Christmas party. But the protagonists know that they still have a lot ahead of them, but they still have to deal with certain unwanted people. Present. Hyoudou City. We see Lincoln, who was in the Yakai faction. He was in some hot springs that Yusaka recommended to him. Lincoln. Ah, this is life, a relaxing bath without anyone bothering me, smiling. It seemed like it was yesterday that it all started, and now Lincoln can enjoy time for himself without anyone ruining it for him. But near the entrance someone would come in and had a smile on his face. Yusaka. Now I have time for myself and I'll be with my bunny, smiling. Yusaka was completely naked but only covered her body with a towel. She then takes off her towel and leaves it on a rock where she enters the hot springs and enjoys it with Lincoln. The albino continued to relax, but then he felt some arms take him in a hug from behind. When he turns around he is surprised to find that it was Yusaka who was hugging him. Lincoln. You Yusaka, what are you doing here, blushing? Lincoln was blushing as Yusaka's soft and firm breasts touched his torso. Yusaka. It's okay Linky-kun, I just want to enjoy this moment, blushing. At that Yusaka gives Lincoln a kiss on the lips and he slowly began to accept the kiss. With Issei. Issei was with Godzilla, but like Lincoln they are in some hot springs, but Ghidorah was also there, so Issei was with two women in the hot springs. Issei. The best thing that has ever happened to me, smiling. Godzilla. This is exciting, smiling. Issei. Girls, I love you, smiling. Ghidorah. And we you, blushing. And that Godzilla gives a kiss to Issei and he gladly accepts the kiss, but Ghidorah began to touch his member. Lemon skipped. The next day. Issei was at a picnic with Ghidorah and Godzilla and thanks to Issei's magic they could walk without problem, but then their tranquility is interrupted and the three dodge an attack and see the person responsible. The person responsible was a strange robot, but it had the form of Godzilla when he accesses his monster form. And that Godzilla accesses his kaiju form in order to fight the robot. Issei sees the name of the robot and it was Mechagodzilla and he saw that Godzilla tries to harm him, but the robot was very strong. The kaiju girl then uses her elemental attack, but the robot absorbs it without any problem. Issei, seeing that his waifu was in trouble, accessed his Elementor form, more specifically his ice form. Elementor. Hey Tin, don't copy my girl's look, annoyed. In that, he fights against the robot, but Mechagodzilla defends himself very well, but the kaiju attacks him from behind, where Elementor attacks the robot and tears off one of its arms. Elementor. Pathetic, now you think you're rude, mocking. In that the arm that was torn off is destroyed and suddenly Mechagodzilla regenerates his arm. Elementor. Me and my big mouth, seriously. In that Mechagodzilla attacks them both, but Elementor and Godzilla defend themselves very well. With Lincoln. He was in a flower garden with Yusaka and Kuoh, but then he felt trouble and saw a group of people, but he saw that one of them had a spear. Lincoln, through his power to read minds, saw that they called themselves the Hero Faction and their leader was Kuoh. Heracles, Jean, Leonard and Siegfried were also there. They had intentions of kidnapping Yusaka to do an experiment on her. Lincoln. Kuoh, you won't take my Yusaka, cold. Kuoh. Who are you, brat? Serious and curious. Lincoln. Your executioner, serious. He concentrated on that and underwent a transformation and his hair turned purple and his eyebrows disappeared. The Hero Faction is surprised but cannot feel his power. Lincoln. The reason why they can't detect my power is because I'm at the level of the gods. Now you mortal trash are going to wish you hadn't met me, cold. In a quick movement he appears in front of Heracles and gives him 2 blows that leave him on the ground and then launches a Hakai eliminating him. The others launch into the attack, where Leonard tries to attack him, but the dark being appears behind him and with a Kai sword cuts off his head. Siegfried uses his other arms and had several swords. Lincoln. You're really stupid, you don't know who you're messing with, smiling maliciously. And that Siegfried attacks him wherein that the dark being with his Kai sword destroys his swords and then launches an attack that will turn him into dust. Jean was terrified because she had a chance against Lincoln and then he approached her. Jean. Please don't kill me. I was forced to do this, pleading. Lincoln uses his power to see if she was lying, but he saw that she was telling the truth. Lincoln. I see you're honest, seriously. But Jean is stabbed by the Kuoh spear and she falls wounded to the ground. Kuoh. I knew you were a traitor, damn bitch, cold. But then he felt someone running through him with a sword and it was Lincoln using the Kai sword. Lincoln. You know what I hate most, cowards who attack from behind, now you'll suffer, damn, cold. In that, he hits Kuoh and sends him far away and gives him several blows until he is badly injured and Lincoln stands in front of him and puts his hand in front of Kuoh. Lincoln. Before creation comes destruction, Hakai, cold. And that cow is erased from existence wherein that Lincoln takes the spear. Lincoln. I'll get you a better carrier, seriously. And that he returns to his base state, luckily he had already mastered the Mega Instinct, that's what I call it. Isaka. What will you do with her? Pointing at Jean. Lincoln. I'll see what to do my love, but now I'll have her under my surveillance, serious. The albino then approaches Jean to then heal her because she still had the spear wound in her stomach and a few seconds later the wound disappears and he carries the blonde away. Then they went to the palace, but Lincoln was a little exhausted, although the faction of heroes was not that powerful he could not use the Mega Instinct for a long time. With Issei. He was in his Elementor form fighting against Mechagodzilla, but he always regenerated where he comes up with a plan. Elementor. Godzilla honey, I have a plan, we must launch our best attack. If we destroy him completely he will not regenerate, seriously. The kaiju nods and then they attack the mechanical beast again, where they attack it but it regenerates. Elementor attacks him with several energy attacks and Godzilla does the same, but Elementor decides to use the energy of destruction and throws it against Mechagodzilla and it is finally destroyed. Elementor and Godzilla return to their human forms and then a girl with wings on her back approaches. Issei. Wow, who is she? Surprised. Ghidorah approaches the other kaiju to introduce her. Ghidorah. Issei-kun, she is Mothra, a great friend of mine, smiling. Mothra. Nice to meet you Issei-kun, smiling. Issei. The pleasure is all mine, smiling. Mothra. Listen, how long have you known each other? Serious and curious. Issei. I just arrived at this faction, it's a long story, smiling. Mothra. Tell me, curious. Issei now met another kaiju, but now he has to tell his story, what will happen see it in the next chapter. Chapter 22. Journey to Kyoto and a change in Issei. Previously we saw how Issei had hex with Godzilla and Ghidorah, while Lincoln had hex with Yasaka, and then Issei fought against a robot called Mechagodzilla, but was able to destroy it. While Lincoln awakened a destructive power and eliminated the hero faction, leaving only Jean alive because she was forced, but Lincoln would be watching her. Present. After spending time in the kaiju faction, Issei decides to return to Kuoh, where he finds out that Lincoln is in Kuoh, but he would go later because Lincoln had left clones so as not to miss classes. Issei. I see that Lincoln is not here because I know he left clones, serious. After that, he went to the student council where Sona was and she asked him for explanations of where he had been and he told her about the kaiju faction, but of course he didn't tell her about the hex he had with Godzilla and Ghidorah. Sona. So cages exist, surprised. Issei. Apparently yes, serious. Sona. But at least you got allies, it would be. Issei. Well now that, curious. Sona. Well, we are preparing for a trip to Kyoto, it would be. Issei. I understand, seriously. After that we see Issei who was taking something out of the garage of his house, it was a car that he had stored. Issei decides to take a walk while he prepares to buy something for Sona, since he wants to do something special for her. In Kyoto. We see Lincoln who was in Super Saiyan Rose Phase 3 since he liked the transformation. Lincoln trained because even though the Ultra Ego gave him more power, he liked to use Phase 3 Rose. When he finished his training he stopped using the transformation and then he approached Yasaka, but Jean arrived with some drinks. Since Lincoln killed the hero faction she became Lincoln's personal maid. Yasaka. I'm surprised that she's your maid now, surprised. Jean. Lincoln-sama, here are the drinks, sadly. Lincoln. Jean-chan without honorifics, I don't see you as a servant, but don't worry, I don't see you as a criminal, smiling. After that he waits for Kuoh to take the drinks which were glasses with juice. Later on. Issei and his companions go to Kyoto where Issei was accompanied by his girls, but at least he would not be alone. Issei. At least I won't be alone on this trip, smiling. After a few hours they arrived in Kyoto and everyone walks around the city, but Issei visits certain places with the girls. Osaka Palace. Lincoln's girls had arrived since he sent them a message that he wants them to go to Kyoto, and when they arrive they see the palace, and when Lincoln leaves he receives them in a good way. Lincoln. I know you have questions, but I'll give them to you. I want to introduce some people I met here. Come out, smiling. Osaka and Kuoh leave since they were going to meet the others. Lincoln. The first is Osaka, the leader of the Yakai faction, and the youngest is her daughter Kuoh. I met them when I tested my new powers, but not only that, I also saved Osaka from an attack by a faction, seriously. Urza. But how did all this happen, curious. Lincoln tells them how his fight against the hero faction went and everything else, of course, he didn't mention the hex with Osaka. Irene. I see they were asking for it, it would be. Lincoln. But on the bright side, I have a new toy, showing the spear. Urza. It's the true Longinus, surprised. Lincoln. Yes, but at least he's in good hands, smiling. Irene. I see, it would be. After that, Issei and his group arrived at the Osaka Kingdom and found out what happened to the hero faction. Issei. That explains a lot, seriously. After that, Alice would arrive with Serafal to make the alliance with the Yokai faction, where they learned what happened with the attack of the hero faction. Serafal. Thanks Linky, you really saved my friend Yusaka from being kidnapped, smiling. Lincoln. You're welcome, smiling. Issei. Well, I hope to convince Ghidorah to be part of the alliance, seriously. Lincoln. Well, we'll have to see, seriously. Issei then decides to go train a little, and then he accesses his Elementor form with the power of destruction. After that he uses more power where now he was quite powerful like the beast of the apocalypse, or rather he is far superior to Trihexa. But Issei decides to stop using his Elementor form, where he uses the Kaishin power that he took from Zamasu. And that he decides to combine his power with several that he obtained when he absorbed the power of some. Issei now has a change of appearance and a new outfit. Issei. Wow, this is great, smiling. And that he uses his power, and in that his arms become lava wherein that he tests his power. Issei. Well, I can even use the elements without fully accessing my Elementor form, but this one changes to a kaiju form. Elementor. Wow, wait, I remember I absorbed some kaiju power, it must be the result of fusing with some kaiju DNA, seriously. Then Elementor returns to being Issei, and then he went with the others so as not to worry them. Now Issei has a new appearance thanks to mastering most of his power. What will happen? See it in the next chapter. Chapter 23. Journey to another dimension. Previously we saw how the protagonists were in Kyoto where we see how Lincoln introduces the leader of the Yokai faction and that he killed the hero faction but gets the SS Gyro's phase 3. Meanwhile, Issei obtained kaiju powers and abilities and managed to evolve his Elementor state where he now has the form of a kaiju and knows how to master the Hakai. Present. After mastering the kaiju power we see Issei who was in his new form but now had the power to do Hakai without accessing his kaiju form. Issei was seeing everything now he had women to protect and love but now he has his good friend Lincoln but he told him that they would go to another dimension. Lincoln. And what is the reason for that, curious? Issei. I heard that there is corruption by an empire, we must go stop it, serious. Lincoln. It's okay if you say so, smiling. And that Issei opens a portal and he and the albino would enter the other dimension where they arrived at a field. Lincoln had the suit on, but he was prepared for anything, and so was Issei, and so they both went in different directions, but Issei detects problems. Then he would arrive and see a girl with purple hair and another with pink hair. But the one with purple hair was wounded and was going to be devoured by a beast. But Issei then removes the girl from the beast, where he sees that she had a shot, and with his magic, he removes the bullet. The girl looks at her savior, and he was a very attractive boy where she blushes, but Issei lets her rest and looks at the beast, and then accesses his Elementor form, but now he had the appearance of Godzilla, but in another version. Elementor. I like this way now, but let's play, mocking. And that he attacks the monster dog where he saw that it was quite strong, but Elementor accesses his magma form wherein that he throws a rain of magma on the beast. The beast was burned until there was no trace left, but he saw a girl and saw that she was a psychopath, and then he does the same thing to her by burning her. After finishing this he returns to his normal form where he approaches the duo of girls. But the pink-haired girl was going to point her weapon at Issei, but he avoided it. Issei. Girls, I didn't come to fight. If I had wanted to hurt you, I would have done it already, and if it weren't for me, the purple-haired girl would already be dead, seriously. It's true, mine, if it weren't for him I would already be dead, and I want to thank you for saving me, blushing. Mine. Okay Shiel, it would be. Shiel. Hey, what's your name? Curious. Issei, mi llamo Issei Hyoudou sonriendo. Shiel. My name is Shiel and she is mine, smiling. Issei. Well girls, why did that crazy woman want to kill you, confused. Mine. Was Seiryu, she was the ogre apprentice, a guy that our friend Tsunami killed, would be. Issei. I see, serious. Shiel. We must tell Nagenda the report, it would be. Mine. It's true but you will come with us because you were the one who killed the beast Aya the crazy Seiryu, it would be. Issei. Of course, ladies, smiling. Both blush and then went to the base to talk to Nagenda, but meanwhile Lincoln was wearing his suit, but then he sees an advertisement for a tournament where he went to said tournament. He then went to the tournament, but when he arrived he was without his helmet on. At the top of the stadium we see a beautiful blue-haired woman in military clothing. It was General Esdeath. Esdeath was looking closely at the tournament competitors where she focused her attention on the white-haired boy in dark armor. Then the contestants fight until eventually only Lincoln and a brown-haired girl with green eyes remain. Tsunami. My name is Tsunami, but how did you get here, kid? Curious. Lincoln. It's a long explanation, but oh well, seriously. At that the helmet closes and then he makes a gesture with his fingers. Tsunami. What Tigu is that? Confused. Lincoln. Tigu, I don't know what that is, seriously. In that Tsunami he launched himself to fight against Lincoln, but he blocked his attacks masterfully. Tsunami then uses her armor where she attacks Lincoln, but he takes out some swords. He has his helmet on. In that he fights against Tsunami where he takes advantage of a distraction where he eventually manifests an energy and then he manages to make Tsunami's armor disappear. Tsunami. How did you do that? Confused. Lincoln. Winners always keep something special in mind, seriously. He takes advantage of this and gives her a small blow to the neck, leaving the girl out of combat. Wave. We have a winner, smiling. After that the helmet opens revealing Lincoln's face and he raises his hands in victory and then smiles Goho style. But what he didn't know was that Esdeath was looking at him with a blush. Esdeath. I finally found it, blushing. Wave. You found who? Confused. But Esdeath ignored him and she went down to get closer to the winner of the tournament. Lincoln saw Esdeath and saw that she was quite attractive, but he was not a pervert. Esdeath. I see you won and I must admit you impressed me a lot, smiling. At that she puts her hand in her chest, something that confused Lincoln, but she takes out a necklace and puts it on Lincoln. Esdeath. From now on you will be completely mine, happy. Before the albino can answer, he is knocked out because his guard was down. Esdeath. We'll talk in my room tonight, smiling. She takes Lincoln to her palace where the other companions and friends of Esdeath were. Ice. This one was with Shiel and mine where they arrive at a shelter where there was a white-haired woman who had an eye patch on her right eye and a mechanical arm. Agenda. Oh girls, how nice to see you, smiling. Mine. Boss, we have news for you. Seiryu and his monster are dead, it would be. Agenda. Oh yes, confused. But that's where Issei comes in, but Agenda was supposed to be who this person was. Agenda. Wait, who are you? I've never seen you, it would be. Issei. My name is Issei Hyoudou, you must be Agenda, smiling. Agenda. That's right, but girls, what is he doing here? Curious. In that they explain everything to Agenda that Issei saved Shiel from being killed by a monster and that he was the one who killed Seiryu. Agenda was surprised by that, but Issei tells her that he can absorb elements and other things and shows his Elementor form. Then he returns to normal where he tells her that he will tell her about it later. Now both are in another dimension, but this is just beginning. What will happen, see it in the next chapter. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown in left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day, bye.